Chapter 191. Sun Fang was a little nervous. Death Mage was such a powerful skeleton, yet he was only standing at the back. No, I'm the last one. Just how strong was the man in front of her? Yihua flicked away the cigarette, but that was in his hand, and the cigarette but just so happened to land on the barrier, causing the sparks to burn out a round hole on the barrier. The group of 9 stepped into the barrier, and the surface of the sea once again fell into silence. The winner. Jing Shan looked at the dying heavy dust and let out a heavy breath. How are the casualties? Xiang hurriedly said, 711 people died and 2,732 were injured. F***ck. Jing Shan could not help but swear. There were only about 10,000 people in Ing family, and this number included the guards and maidservants. 711 people had died today. What a heavy loss. Moreover, it had injured more than 2,000 people. As expected of an ancient ferocious beast, its strength was indeed formidable. Looking up at the vast Milky Way, Jing Shan said in a deep voice, "Take good care of the dead, treat the injured as soon as possible, and carry out the construction work at the same time. Also, continue sealing heavy dust." "Yes." Xiang replied. Just when everyone thought that everything was fine, a round flame suddenly appeared in the night sky. It was very eye-catching, and everyone in the Ing family raised their heads to look up. After a moment of shock, the Ing family members immediately became vigilant. He held the ancient godly item tightly in his hands. The enchantment in the void fell like a piece of glass, and then 9 people walked in. The man at the very front was dressed in red, looking quite festive. Could it be that he just got married? The enchantment slowly healed. Looking at the 9 people in the sky, the Ing clan was shocked. They were actually able to break through the barrier so easily. How was this possible? Who dares to trespass? An armored warrior shouted out. However, before he could finish speaking, his entire body turned into a pool of blood. The people of the Ing family were dumbfounded. That warrior had just made a great contribution in the battle against Heavy Dust Mountain. His strength was clear to see. He didn't expect to be instantly killed. Moreover, the one who attacked was standing at the back of the group, a black-robed man with a sickle in his hand. That's right, it was Death Mage. He was currently raising his hand. The entire Ing family fell silent. They felt that these people were even more terrifying than Zhongchen. Qin Yutong and Yizizi, who were hiding below, looked upwards. Big cousin is so pretentious. Brother-in-law is indeed the act-tough king. Xiang, who had a fiery temper, held onto an ancient godly item and rushed straight towards Yihua. However, Yihua did not even take a look at Xiang as he silently took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. "Eat my blade." The ancient godly item in Xiang's hand immediately emitted a bright golden light, illuminating the entire night sky. Meanwhile, that long blade let out an excited tiger's roar, as if it wanted to devour everything in the world. Death Mage clenched his fist. Bang! Xiang, who had an extraordinary aura, turned into a mist of blood on the spot. The ancient godly item fell from the sky and stabbed into the ground. Boom! The entire island shook, and it could be seen just how powerful the ancient godly item was. However, none of the 9 people in the sky went to pick up the godly item. It was as if the ancient godly item was trash in their eyes. Death Mage, who was standing at the back of the 9 people, instantly killed 2 people, causing everyone to be stupefied. It would have been fine if he had insta-killed that warrior. However, insta-killing Ing family's second brother, who possessed an ancient godly item, was something that no one could accept. Jing Shan and the other family members didn't dare to rashly make a move anymore. Since Death Mage was able to insta-kill the person who was standing at the back of the 9 people, just how strong would the person who was standing at the front be? Yihua exhaled out a mouthful of smoke, and the smoke that he exhaled out slowly drifted towards the weakened Heavy Dust. Heavy Dust, who was lying on the ruins, smelled the smoke, and his 4 limbs that were originally unable to move began to gradually wriggle. Soon after, Heavy Dust suddenly stood up. Roar! Heavy Dust let out a long howl, then bent his front leg and bowed towards Yihua. Right now, the hearts of Ying family's people were collapsing. So many people had died just to defeat Heavy Dust. However, with just a breath from Yi Hua, Heavy Dust, who was on the verge of death, immediately came back to life as if he had been injected with a stimulant. Is he still human? Yi Hua could be seen raising his hands. The entire sea surface immediately began boiling, and seawater could be seen surging upwards, forming legs, waist, chest, arms, and head. 8 giant water demon gods surrounded the island and looked down at all of Ying family's people. Heavy Dust was already trembling in fear. In front of the giant water demon gods, he was just like a wild boar, and he could only raise his head to look up at the giant water demon gods. Not only Heavy Dust, the legs of everyone in Ying family were trembling, and those who were slightly weaker had already collapsed onto the ground. Meanwhile, Ying Kongshur had already fainted from fear. This was not the end. Below Yi Hua, the seawater was rising in a straight line, but while it was rising, it was also rapidly freezing, gradually forming a frozen platform. Yi Hua and the others just happened to be standing on the platform. A frozen throne could be seen rising from the center of the platform. Yi Hua slowly sat on the throne, then flicked away the cigarette but that was in his hand and shouted faintly, "Why are the two of you still not coming over?" Ying family's people didn't know what this man meant. What two of us? Yi Zizi and Qin Yutong, who were hiding below, let out a sigh, and at the same time, they even touched their buttocks. Ying Jingshan saw 2 figures flying out from the side, and when he saw their appearance, he took in a breath of cold air. So it was them. All of the family members who had seen Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi felt as if their chests were going to vomit out blood. So it was them. The entire Ying family was actually played around by these 2 women. And they were even killing each other. Coming to the ice platform, Yi Zizi lowered her head and stood together with Wei Chang and the others, looking just like a child who had done something wrong. Qin Yutong didn't know where she should stand anymore. I don't know what kind of reaction they will have when I jump into brother-in-law's embrace. Of course, I can only think about it, only an idiot would do something like that in such a big scene. However, where should I stand? I should just stand at the back. Yutong, stand at my side. Yi Hua said faintly. In any case, Yi Zizi is my sister-in-law, I have to give Qin Yi face. Just treat it as me standing at her big sister's side. Qin Yutong was overjoyed. Brother-in-law even brought his sister-in-law along when he is acting cool. I really want to kiss brother-in-law. However, I can't show this kind of expression on my face. I can't lose brother-in-law's face. Standing at her brother-in-law's side, Qin Yutong looked at the small island in front of her, the water gods that were standing at the surroundings, and Heavy Dust who was kneeling at the ruins. This kind of feeling was something that she had never felt before. Wei Chang could be seen taking a small step forward, then shouted out gravely, "Kneel." The 8 water gods shouted out at the same time, "Kneel." A powerful pressure directly pressed onto the backs of all of the people from Ying family, and all of the people who were flying in the air were instantly pressed onto the ground. One by one, the people from Ying family gradually kneeled onto the ground. As the family master, Ying Jingshan was holding on with all his might. How could he possibly kneel? Pfft! A mouthful of blood sprayed out from Ying Jingshan's mouth, and his knee smashed onto the ground. Seeing that all of the people from Ying family were kneeling onto the ground, Yi Hua said faintly, "The reason why I came here today is to give all of you a way out." Chapter 192. 1 second later. Yi Hua said faintly, "A wise man submits to circumstances. I admire the 2 of you. The Ying family, you call this giving time to consider? Others give you a day, but you give me a second?" And then he said, "A wise man submits to circumstances." This wasn't good, right? It was too hasty. No matter who you were yesterday, from this moment onwards, you will only listen to one person's orders. Yi Hua shouted out faintly, "Sun Fang, come out." Sun Fang, who was standing at the back, was startled. Why was she called out at this time? Death Mage pushed the foolish woman. His honor is asking you to hurry up and run. Sun Fang was still wearing the uniform of a hotel attendant. When the people of the Ying family saw Sun Fang, their heads started buzzing. Could it be that they would have to listen to a hotel attendant from now on? She's the one you'll have to listen to in the future. She'll also pass on my orders. Of course, you can resist, but don't forget the price. I've exterminated a lot of people, and I won't recommend killing one more. After finished speaking, Yihua silently lit up a cigarette. Wei Cheng once again shouted in a low voice, "Did you hear me clearly?" The Ying family was silent. A water demon god punched at the crowd. Boom, boom, boom. The entire island shook violently, as if it was about to explode. A huge shockwave swept across the island, and the entire Ying family's building was reduced to rubble by the punch. "Did you hear me?" Wei Cheng once again shouted. The 8 water demon gods had already raised their fists. If they continued to fight, the entire Ying family would be destroyed. "I heard it." Ying Sheng shouted. As Ying Sheng spoke, more and more members of the Ying family spoke up. In front of absolute strength, all resistance was useless. They could only submit. Lai Gu shouted out, "Be orderly, use honorifics." The entire island could be heard shouting at the same time, "We will obey His Honor's command." It has been a long time since I enjoyed this kind of treatment. Yihua slightly closed his eyes. In the past, when I met with this kind of situation, I would basically not leave anyone alive. However, it is different now. Everyone has their own use, as long as I make good use of them. Wei Cheng, Lai Gu, and Yizizi who were standing at the back were very excited. It was as if they had returned to the past, and they really wanted to kill all of them. To Wei Cheng and Lai Gu's girlfriends, what they saw tonight had already refreshed their worldview. Sun Fang was still in shock and had yet to recover. In actuality, among all of them, only Qin Yutong was the most surprised. She knew that her brother-in-law was formidable, but she didn't expect that he was formidable to this extent. No wonder the system wants to hug his thigh. Big sister is really lucky. In the future, with brother-in-law protecting her, she could rest assured. Yihua stretched out his hand and formed a token. "Sun Fang, you will be able to control these 8 water demonic gods." "And that cat?" If they disobeyed, they would be killed. However, the giant water demon god can only appear in this sea region. Death Mage immediately signaled with his eyes. "If not, if His Honor gets angry and kills you, where am I going to find a wife?" Of course, Sun Fang knew the rules. She knelt on the ground and received the token with both hands. "You all can still live your lives as usual, just that, you all have to listen to her." Yihua emphasized for the last time, then snapped his fingers, and all of them disappeared. The 8 giant water demon gods also turned into seawater, and the ice ceiling throne also quickly melted. If not for heavy dust still kneeling down, everyone would have thought that they were dreaming. Looking at the ancient godly item that fell not far away from them, Ying Jingshan's expression was a bit sluggish. To them, ancient godly items are indeed trash. At this moment, Yihua and the others arrived at the surface of the sea, and soon after, Yihua said faintly, "Everyone, disperse, do what you are supposed to do." Death Mage suddenly said, "Your Honor, subordinate wishes to assist Sun Fang." Approved. "Thank you, Your Honor." Death Mage was worried that Sun Fang would not be able to suppress the Ying family by herself. "With me here, I can be at ease. It wasn't easy for me to get a wife, I can't let her die just like that." Sun Fang stood at the side. Although she didn't understand what Death Mage was saying, she felt that it was related to her. "Your Honor, subordinate will be leaving first," Lai Gu said respectfully. Yihua waved his hand, and Lai Gu's 3 women said respectfully, "Your Honor, subordinate will be leaving first." Soon after, Wei Cheng brought Tang Wei and left, while Death Mage brought Sun Fang and entered the barrier once again. Yizizi pulled on to Qin Yutong, and the two prepared to sneak away. "What are you two doing?" Yihua shouted gravely. Yizizi pouted her mouth, then immediately raised her butt. Qin Yutong let out a sigh. Brother-in-law teaching sister-in-law a lesson is right and proper. Thus, Qin Yutong learned from Yizizi and raised her butt. Yihua originally wanted to say something else, but he didn't expect that the two of them would be so self-aware. "All right. Clap, 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 clap. Immediately, sounds of pain rang out. After quite a while, Qing Yutong and Yi Zizi held onto their butts and followed behind Yi Hua. I hit too hard, my butts are all swollen now. Oh right, what kind of family is this? Yi Hua asked. Qing Yutong rubbed onto her butt, then said with grievance, we don't know either. Zizi doesn't know either. Yi Hua let out a breath, I was still too casual. If the people from Ying family found out about this, they would probably cry themselves to death in the toilet. Using violence to subdue me, yet I don't know who I subdued. Do you want to know about the three big powers? Yutong, come over. Yi Hua called out. Brother-in-law, you really can't hit her anymore, look, her butt is all swollen. Yi Hua laughed lightly, don't mess around in the future. Also, don't tell your big sister about this matter. Yi Hua said seriously. It's better to take it slow with my identity, I'm afraid that Qingye won't be able to accept it immediately. Why? Qing Yutong was confused. Yi Hua let out a long sigh, I'm afraid that your big sister will feel inferior. After all, I am truly too outstanding. Qing Yutong, brother-in-law, can you not act cool? Yi Hua immediately raised his hand, and Qing Yutong was so frightened that she hid behind Yi Zizi. Do you understand? I understand, I won't tell big sister, but brother-in-law, you have to find a chance to tell big sister too. Yi Hua naturally knew that. Back then, when he tried to tell her that he was a cultivator, although he didn't show it, he was still able to feel that Qingye was feeling a bit inferior. If he were to tell her that he was a cultivator immediately, she would feel that she was useless, and then have other thoughts in her mind. After arriving at the hotel, Yi Hua suddenly recalled that his wife was still at the wedding dress shop, and hurriedly returned. Big Brother's ability to act cool is getting more and more formidable, he is actually telling us to go and be his foil. Yi Zizi said with a smile. I love to see his honor act cool. Zizi, did you notice that every time your big brother acts cool, he has to smoke? Why is that? My big sister said that brother-in-law contracted a kind of illness that is incurable, it's called acting cool after smoking syndrome. There's such an illness? It sounds so awesome. Zizi, you cannot learn from your big brother, girls cannot smoke, and even more so, they cannot fight. They also cannot go to bars, and they also cannot put out fires. Big sister Qing, what are we going to wear to the bar tonight? I feel that pink loli attire suits you very well, what should I wear then? Sailor Moon Warrior. Chapter 193. Yi Hua hurriedly ran to the bridal dress shop, only to see that Qingye had fallen asleep while leaning on the sofa. This foolish woman doesn't even know that I should go back first. After changing his clothes, Yi Hua lightly carried up his woman. Furthermore, it was a princess carry. Qingye pursed her lips, then wrapped her arms around Yi Hua's neck, you are back. If you are tired, why don't you go back and rest? Yi Hua said lightly. I was waiting for you. I was afraid that you wouldn't be able to find me. Yi Hua laughed, how could I not be able to find you? Qingye smiled tenderly and buried her head onto Yi Hua's chest. Qingye felt sweet in her heart. Many things had happened in the Ying family in the past 2 days. It could be considered a calamity. Fortunately, it was contained. However, Sun Fang's first order was that no one was allowed to spread what happened tonight. Otherwise, the entire clan would be exterminated. Death Mage was standing right behind his woman, looking at her giving out orders one after another. Why is that back view of hers becoming more and more enchanting the more I look at it? Especially when he saw her scolding others, it was really beautiful. The rebuilding of the Ying family was going on intensely. Sun Fang had been a sect leader before, so she knew how to manage things. Actually, all she had to do was to keep these family members in check. After giving the order, Sun Fang and Death Mage found a place to lean against each other and started playing the game. In actuality, Sun Fang had forgotten one thing. The token that she had in her hand was able to control 8 giant water demonic gods. These giant water demonic gods were summoned by Yi Hua, and their strength was far above Death Mage's. As long as Sun Fang was willing, she would be able to kill Death Mage at any time. However, for some unknown reason, Sun Fang seemed to have chosen to forget about the matter regarding the giant water demon god, and was still using her own method to get rid of Death Mage. At this moment, in Long City, in a leisure bar, Wei Chang brought Tang Wei and appeared in the toilet of the bar. Tang Wei was still very shocked. That scene just now seemed like something out of a sci-fi movie. That gigantic water man almost destroyed the island with a single punch, and this was just one. His honor is too formidable. When I think about how I had to send a love letter to his honor, I feel so embarrassed. Uncle Wei, it's already so late, I'll go to your house to sleep. Tang Wei tiptoed and said shyly. She was still in a state of excitement and really wanted to do something shameful with Uncle Wei. Wei Chang patted Tang Wei's head. Did you forget that Uncle Wei has a car? Uncle Wei can send you back. Tang Wei, Uncle Wei was the most honest man she had ever met. After walking out of the toilet, Tang Wei pulled onto Wei Chang. Uncle Wei, they are still there. Wei Chang abruptly slapped onto his own head. I forgot to tell his honor about this matter. Lil Tang, do you want to change? I'll go ask them what they want. Okay, Uncle Wei. Wei Chang walked out to the hall outside and saw a man and a woman sitting on a booth. The two of them had grave expressions, as though they were making a big decision. Sorry, this restaurant is closed now. Wei Chang revealed a professional smile. The man had a guitar case beside him. It seemed to be very important to him. I want to see Black Robe. The man directly stated his purpose. That's right, he was Xiao Yi. The woman beside him was Xu Nan. Xiao Yi pondered for a long time at home and came to the conclusion that the Xiao family was hopeless. However, Black Robe suddenly appeared in his mind. With Black Robe's help, the Xiao clan would not perish. No matter what request Black Robe made, he would agree to it. He even brought the Xianyuan sword with him this time. 1 life plus the Xianyuan sword, in exchange for the safety of his woman and child. As Xiao Yi's wife, Xu Nan seemed to have sensed something. That day, she blocked her husband's path. If Xiao Yi didn't tell her where he was going, she would die in front of her husband. Xiao Yi had no choice but to tell Xu Nan about his plan. Without thinking about anything, Xu Nan followed her husband to the restaurant. Back then, Xiao Yi asked his wife why she wanted to follow him to the restaurant. Xu Nan smiled very beautifully and said, I have a life as well. At that moment, Xiao Yi discovered that he was the luckiest person in the world. If he wasn't lucky, how could he have married them? Although he had brought his wife over, Xiao Yi would definitely not let his wife die. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Wei Chang pretended to ask. I want to see Black Robe. I have a very important matter to discuss with him. Right now, Xiao Yi's complexion was extremely bad. He was on the verge of collapsing. If the matter is not settled by tonight, he might not be able to see tomorrow's sun. Xu Nan tightly held onto her husband's ice-cold hand, and her heart was bleeding. Wei Chang didn't know how his honor was going to deal with this Xiao Yi, and thus, he didn't want to care about it. You can go back first, there is no Black Robe here. Wei Chang said faintly. Xu Nan knelt down in front of Wei Chang. I beg you, please let us see Black Robe. My husband is going to die soon, and he only wants to see Black Robe one last time before he dies. Wei Chang looked towards Xiao Yi, and discovered that Xiao Yi was indeed like what Xu Nan had said. Xiao Yi probably wouldn't be able to live past tonight. Let Death Mage come over. Forget it, the way he speaks is already making others anxious to death. Forget it, I should just go and ask his honor for his opinion. Right now, Yi Hua just happened to be sleeping while hugging onto Qinya, and Wei Chang's message suddenly rang out. Your honor, Xiao Yi is here. Xiao Yi? Why isn't he properly cultivating at home? What is he doing here? I don't know, but looking at him, it seems like he won't be able to live past tonight. Yi Hua asked confusedly, is he going to die? Your honor, do you want me to keep him? Yi Hua thought for a bit. I just subdued a Black Robe in the south, and the north still lacks a Black Robe. Keep him. Yes. After finished speaking, Yihua continued hugging onto Qingya and continued sleeping. So comfortable. Wei Chang took a look at Xiao Yi and Shu Nan, who was kneeling on the ground. You two wait for a while. After finished speaking, Wei Chang turned around and left. Shu Nan was overjoyed. She stood up and held on to her husband's hand. Brother Xiao, hold on. Cough, 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 Shu Nan, in the future, this family will be relying on you. If you meet someone who is better than me, don't feel pressured. Xiao Yi was very weak, his face was completely devoid of blood. If not for his strong spiritual energy supporting him, he would have died a few days ago. Shu Nan shouted out, Brother Xiao. What kind of words are you saying? I, Shu Nan, am your woman in this life, and I will still be your woman in my next life. Xiao Yi gasped for breath, and he didn't even have the strength to speak anymore. Suddenly, a black whirlpool appeared in front of the two, and a figure could be seen walking out of the whirlpool. The figure's entire body was covered by black fog. Xiao Yi and Shu Nan looked blankly at the figure. The scene back then was still vivid in their minds. That figure was that black-gowned boss. Wei Chang was having a hard time pretending to be Xiao Yi, and Xiao Tang was still waiting outside. What's the matter? Wei Chang asked gravely, and his voice had completely changed. Xiao Yi could be seen to be very excited. Hugging onto his guitar case, his entire body trembled as he lied on the ground. Slowly opening the guitar case, a golden bright and dazzling Xianyuan sword appeared in front of everyone. Xiao Yi could be seen kneeling in front of Wei Chang. Just a moment ago, Xiao Yi moved a bit, and right now, he was gasping for breath. If it wasn't for Shu Nan supporting him, he would have already fallen. I can give you my sword and my life. Can you protect my wife and child? Xiao Yi said this sentence intermittently, but to Xiao Yi, after saying this sentence, he felt that it was even more difficult for him to breathe, and his entire body began trembling. Chapter 194. Wei Chang stretched out his hand, and Xianyuan's sword floated in his hand, then said faintly, This sword is trash, your life is also trash. Letting go of his hand, Xianyuan's sword fell back into the box, but Wei Chang intentionally left a trace of his own aura on it. Hearing Wei Chang's words and Xianyuan's sword falling down, Xiao Yi coughed violently and tried to crawl towards Wei Chang, begging him to save his wife and child. However, you are very lucky, I like to save Trash's life. A black fog drilled into Xiao Yi's head, and the latter immediately fainted. Brother Xiao. Brother Xiao. Tell him, I can save him, and also kill him. Shu Nan was very sensible. She knelt down and said, From now on, Xiao family will listen to Lord's orders. Wei Chang nodded his head, then disappeared and appeared in the back alley. Xiao Tang, let's go. Wei Chang smiled and said. Tang Weiwei smiled gently. In the leisure bar, Shu Nan was currently checking her husband's pulse, and finally let out a sigh of relief. Her husband's pulse is stable, and his aura is even more vigorous than before. This person is too powerful to actually be able to save a person who is about to die. Shu Nan helped Xiao Yi to a seat and waited patiently for 10 minutes. Wu Shu Nan went into a daze. Why is Brother Xiao crying? Isn't this a woman's specialty? Where am I? Xiao Yi raised his head and asked in a daze. Shu Nan's heart sunk. Did something happen? Brother Xiao. Look at me. Shu Nan pressed onto Xiao Yi's cheek and asked nervously. Xiao Yi, who was in a daze, suddenly smiled and hugged onto his woman. Shu Nan was startled for a moment and punched fiercely. You bastard, you scared me to death. I will beat you to death. Xiao Yi hugged onto the woman tightly, and after a long time, he said gently, Shu Nan, thank you. Brother Xiao. Listening to that powerful heartbeat, Shu Nan was finally at ease. Alright, let's go back. Xiao Yi stood up and looked at Xianyuan's sword that was on the ground. His expression didn't change much as he closed the box and picked it up. Brother Xiao, are we leaving just like this? Shu Nan took a look at the surroundings and asked confusedly. Xiao Yi nodded and a black mist flashed through his black eyes. And there are still many things waiting for us to do. I want to see how many people want to betray me. Shu Nan nodded. It was a miracle that they had escaped from death this time. Even so, it would be even more dangerous next. Everyone stared at the Shenyuan sword in Brother Zhao's hand. Brother Xiao seemed to be planning to continue pretending to be sick to lure out those hidden enemies. This was good. Just like that, a miraculous day passed. The Ying family, one of the three giants, sank into a sea of pain, while the Xiao family, an ordinary family, had a day of great joy. This incident was enough to prove that luck was really important. He was not lying. All right, I was lying. In actuality, everything is within Yihua's control. The next morning, Yihua was once again pulled up by Qinya. Of course, Qinya only managed to pull Yihua up after pulling him up for an hour. Qinya didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Such a grown man is actually dawdling on the bed, and he still won't get down without kissing me a few times, acting shamelessly. Yihua, who was pulled out of bed, was in a very bad mood. Since I, the Supreme Overlord, am in a bad mood, there is definitely someone else who is going to be out of luck. Qin Yutong and Yizizi were two unlucky fellows. Today, they were filming an outdoor scene. They were definitely tired. Even if Qin Yutong and Yizizi wanted to run away, they wouldn't be able to. Their butts were still hurting. However, this pair of bridesmaids was indeed interesting. This outdoor scene was almost as good as a celebrity's autograph signing session. Other than the cameraman, there was also a group of people taking photos of the bridesmaids. After all, the man was handsome, the woman was beautiful, and there was also a little lowly. This combination was too good. 2,500 kilometers away, there was an even more miserable scene. Big brother, do we really have to do this? Little brother Red asked sorrowfully. Big brother Green took a puff of his cigarette, then looked at little Ali who was standing at the side and said gravely, Sell, 3,000 RMB, are you really going to sell it? That's right, Big brother Green had the idea of selling the car. This Wuling Hongguang was bought by me using all of my savings. Although I bought a second-hand car for 30,000 RMB, and all of them were used to transport goods, if I don't sell it now, what am I going to eat? Big brother, let's go and get the money. Big brother Green stretched out his hand and slapped. Are you stupid? If I were to go and get the money, wouldn't I be exposing my position? This is possible as well? Little brother Red asked puzzledly. Nonsense. Once I withdraw the money, the bank will know where to withdraw it. Then we will be surrounded. That's how it is on TV. Why don't you grow a brain? Little brother Red pouted his mouth. Who in the world would think about such things when watching TV? Hey, are you still selling this car? The boss of the black shop shouted impatiently. This car was not bad, and he could earn a few thousand if he sold it. Big brother Green hastily said, Sell. Dong Huangli could be seen walking to Big brother Green's side, then pulling onto the corner of Big brother Green's clothes, Uncle Green. Big brother Green, who originally had a stern face, turned around and smiled. Ollie, what's wrong? Uncle Green will treat you to McDonald's. Uncle Green, Ollie doesn't want to eat McDonald's anymore, it's not delicious. Dong Huangli was naturally able to tell that her two uncles didn't have any money. How could it be possible for them to go and eat such expensive food? Big brother Green carried Dong Huangli and asked with a smile, What does Ollie want to eat? Uncle Green will buy it for you. Ollie wants to eat buns. The Green and Red brothers sighed in their hearts. What a sensible child. Rubbing onto Ollie's head, Big brother Green said with a smile, All right, I will ask Uncle Red to buy meat buns for you. Looking at his underling who was bringing Ollie to buy meat buns, Big brother Green pointed at the motorcycle at the side and asked, Boss, how much is your motorcycle? 1,000 renminbi. The boss immediately asked for an exorbitant price. Big brother Green had ridden a lot of motorcycles in the past. Taking a look at the motorcycle, it was actually not bad, but 1,000 renminbi was too expensive. Are you selling it for 500 renminbi? Not selling. Forget it then. Hey, 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 little brother, please wait, we can discuss the price. The boss immediately shouted out. That motorcycle had been placed here for 2 months, it is best for me to sell it now, 800 renminbi, you can take it. Bye-bye. 600. Forget it. Alright, 500 renminbi, you can take it. The boss didn't want to waste too much space on the motorcycle. Taking the 2,500 renminbi and a motorcycle that was emitting black smoke, the three headed south. When it rained, they would hide from the rain. When it rained at night, they would randomly find a place to sleep. Although it was quite embarrassing, the entire journey was filled with laughter. At night, it rained again. Big Brother Green hurriedly looked for a place to take shelter from the rain. Fortunately, there was an old house that had collapsed by the roadside. The Green and Red brothers' afro heads had already collapsed, and it seemed like they were going to need to be ligated. Little Ali's face looked very crafty, but his pair of eyes were very bright. This damn weather in the South Shore is filled with water. Little Brother Red shook off the water that was on his head and sighed. Chapter 195. Ali rubbed onto his stomach. In actuality, I am very hungry. Ali isn't hungry. Dong Huangli said, then moved her body closer to the fire. After interacting with Ali for the past few days, the Green and Red brothers knew Ali's personality. She was especially caring and considerate. Dong Huangli stood up, then walked to the back of Big Brother Green and said with a smile, Uncle Green, you have been riding a motorcycle for an entire day, Ali will give you a massage. Thank you, Ali. I'm not tired at all. I'm in high spirits. Actually, Big Brother Green's shoulders were aching, and he felt that his shoulders were about to be dislocated. However, Ali was still massaging Big Brother Green's shoulders. Little Brother Red suddenly said angrily, Big Brother, the people in the family are too vicious, they actually reported us, and even said that we stole chickens from the neighboring village 1 year ago. Sigh, a friend in need is a friend indeed, I have decided to withdraw from the family. Big Brother Green lit up a wrinkled cigarette. Good idea. How about we start our own clan? What's his name? The underling was very excited. Big Brother Green spat out a mouthful of smoke, and said indifferently, let's call it the Buried Love Clan. F***ck me. What a good name. It's deep, artistic, and creative. In that case, Ali wants to join as well, Dong Huangli said with a smile on her face. Big Brother Green said with a smile, it's fine if you're just a brat, we'll talk about it when you grow up. Humph, Ali wants it, haha, our Burying Love family already has 3 members, who is going to be the boss? Little Brother Red stood up and said, you all should quickly acknowledge me as the boss. Dong Huangli immediately raised her hand, Ali will be the boss. Big Brother Green was speechless. Little Brother Red stood up and said with a smile, Ali, what's so good about being the boss? Watch Uncle Red show you a spiral-style Thomas spin. Poke, 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 for a moment, dust filled the air, and Big Brother Green and Dong Huangli immediately covered their mouths and noses. Don't King turn around, our back mountain was flattened by you. Big Brother Green couldn't take it anymore. Little Brother Red clapped his hands and stood up, Big Brother, during the family competition last year, you were ranked first in Thomas Spin. Ah, Uncle Green is number 1? So formidable. Dong Huangli cried out in surprise. Dong Huangli felt that being ranked first was already very formidable. Big Brother Green was very modest, it's all in the past, a real man doesn't talk about his past achievements. Big Brother, show it to Ali. Dong Huangli also said, Uncle Green, Ali wants to watch you spin. Alright, Uncle Green will perform for Ali. Big Brother Green could be seen patting his buttocks as he walked towards his little brother's position. Poke, 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 as expected of the first place in the family competition, it was as if a smokescreen had been thrown at the scene. Big Brother Green's figure had disappeared. Dong Huangli, cough, 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 Little Brother Red, cough, 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 Little Brother Red thought to himself. To think that the one who said that I flattened the rear mountain was obviously you, Big Brother. Happy times always passed quickly. The three of them gradually fell asleep and continued their journey south the next day. 10 days later, the three of them stood at the plaza of Long and City and looked at the huge statue. A middle-aged woman took a look and slowly took out 5 yuan and put it on the ground. "Auntie, come back, I look like a beggar with that eye of yours." Little brother Red shouted out. The auntie turned around and gave him a look of disdain. "Are you crazy? It's not like it's for you." The corner of little brother Red's mouth twitched. "Are you trying to say that I am even inferior to a beggar?" Dong Wangli picked up the 5 RMB that was on the ground, then said to the auntie, "Thank you, auntie." The auntie walked back and took out 10 yuan. "Little friend, go buy something to eat. The motorcycle broke down on the way here, and it was the kind that couldn't be repaired." Big Brother Green also used up all his money, but he still insisted on not withdrawing money. If he really wanted to withdraw money, he would only do it as a last resort. While holding on to the money in her hand, Dong Wangli, who had a sneaky look on her face, said with a smile, "Uncle, Ali has money now, I will treat you all to a meal." The Green and Red brothers stroked Ali's head and said with a smile, "Uncle is not hungry, Ali can eat by himself." "This won't do, if uncles aren't going to eat, Ali isn't going to eat as well." Dong Wangli pouted her small mouth. Dong Wangli had a look of, "If uncles aren't going to eat, I'm going to go on a hunger strike." Upon hearing Ali's words, the Green and Red brothers glanced at each other. "This sentence is worth it." Dong Wangli bought a steamed bun and pinched it into 3 pieces. However, Dong Wangli's portion was at least half of the steamed bun, and the Red and Green brothers didn't have much. They found a park and sat on a bench. The three of them slowly tasted the world's most delicious steamed buns. "Ali, now that we have arrived at Long and City, where do your daddy and mommy live?" Big Brother Green asked. "I feel that after going through 81 trials and tribulations, I have finally sent my little ancestor to their destination." Let's go," Dong Wangli said. The Green and Red brothers went into a daze. "What do you mean? Let's go? It's Qing, right?" Dong Wangli said with a pure accent. "Big brother, I have heard of bars before, but I have never heard of it before." Little brother Red said confusedly. Big Brother Green stretched out his hand and slapped on Little Brother Red's hand. "Are you stupid? My phone is out of battery, let's search one by one then." Little Brother Red let out a breath. "This is such a big city, how are we supposed to search? Seems like this adventure of mine is not over yet." After finishing eating, the three of them began searching for the so-called Qing bar. However, they suddenly discovered something. The Qing bar seems to be closed during the day. Walking to the bustling street, the three of them indeed became the center of attention. Suddenly, a burst of fragrance wafted over, causing the three of them to stop their footsteps and look towards their right. King Song Mansion's hot pot restaurant. The Green and Red brothers pursed their lips, and Dong Wangli directly swallowed her saliva. "There are so many people queuing up," Dong Wangli muttered. "Big brother, the food inside looks very delicious." Little Brother Red was about to drool. "That's right," Dong Wangli said foolishly. Suddenly, a man who was wearing a suit stood at the entrance and smoked. Looking at the three of them, the man's brows wrinkled. "The three of you, stand further away, I don't want to affect my customer's appetite." Dong Wangli pulled onto Big Brother Green's hand. "Uncle, let's hurry up and leave, don't affect them while they are eating." Big Brother Green was in a bad mood. "What are you shouting about? This road belongs to your family, even people who come from the countryside are more cultured than you. Aya, you still dare to talk back to me, get lost, if not see how I am going to take care of you." Dong Wangli pointed at the manager and said with a childish voice, "Uncle, you are a bad person." "Yo, where did this little beggar come from? Your mouth is so unforgiving, you don't even have a bit of upbringing." The Green and Red brothers looked at little Ali with bloodshot eyes and immediately exploded. The Green and Red brothers rolled up their sleeves and shouted, "You fucking dare to say that one more time." Seeing that the Green and Red brothers were going to risk their lives, the manager immediately hid inside the restaurant. "If you still don't leave, I am going to call the police. Fuck, if I don't teach you a lesson today, I will dye my hair green. After speaking, little brother Red rushed into the restaurant, scaring the people that were queuing up to immediately move aside. Big brother Green also rushed into the restaurant, and immediately, sounds of fighting could be heard coming from inside the restaurant. In less than a minute, the Red and Green brothers ran out of the restaurant with a panicked look on their faces, then carried Dong Huang Li and ran away madly. More than 10 chefs could be seen rushing out of the restaurant, and each of them was holding onto a kitchen knife. Big brother, there is an alley over here, run over there. Big brother Green slapped onto little brother Red's back. What if that alley is blocked? Quickly run. You are right. Chapter 196. The Green and Red brothers, who were carrying Dong Huang Li, had no idea how long they had been running for. In any case, they no longer had any strength to continue running. Ollie, are you okay? Big brother Green gasped for breath. Fortunately, it had practiced the Thomas spin before, so its physical strength could keep up. Dong Huang Li said with a baby voice, Uncle Green, lower your head. Big brother Green was confused. However, he still squatted down slowly. Dong Huang Li could be seen using her sleeve to wipe off Big brother Green's sweat. Upon seeing this, little brother Red immediately squatted down together with his big brother and said, Ollie, Uncle Red wants it too. Li will help Uncle Red wipe his sweat right away. Dong Huang Li said with a smile. Originally, the two of them were very angry. However, when they saw how attentive Dong Huang Li was, all of the anger in their hearts disappeared. Dong Huang Li is too obedient to the point that I don't want her to suffer any harm. The three of them continued to wander around in this unfamiliar city. Dong Huang Li was standing in the middle of the Red and Green brothers, holding on to their big hands, and jumping around from time to time. To Dong Huang Li, although the past few days were bitter, she was still very happy. Compared to when she was in Voidless Realm, she was much happier. When the night arrived, the Green and Red brothers began to bring Dong Huang Li along as they went from bar to bar to bar. However, it was a pity that they did not manage to find anything. Uncle Green, Uncle Red, Ollie wants to confess something to the two of you. Dong Huang Li stopped her footsteps, and with a pitiful look on her face, Dong Huang Li slightly lowered her head and interlocked her fingers. With such a cute look, no matter how big the matter was, no one could bear to hit or scold her. The two squatted beside Dong Huang Li, then asked curiously, Little ancestor, what do you want to confess? Actually, the person that Li came here to look for isn't Daddy and Mommy. Li came here to look for Aunt Qing. After finished speaking, Dong Huang Li pinched onto her own ears, seemingly as if she was preparing to receive punishment. The Green and Red brothers went into a daze. Big brother Green rubbed onto Dong Huang Li's head and said, It's all right, let's just look for Aunt Qing. But calling her Aunt Qing, this name is very strange. If Dong Huang Li knew what her two uncles were thinking, she would definitely faint. Her surname is Qing, furthermore, she is meeting an online friend. After walking for a while, a bar called Baidu appeared in front of the three of them. There were quite a lot of people there, and they could even line up. Big brother Green asked, Ollie, what characteristics does your Aunt Qing have? Dong Huang Li thought for a while. Aunt Qing often says that I am beautiful, and also have a lot of money. Beautiful and rich. Dong Huang Li said. The Green and Red brothers were startled. As expected of a child from a rich family. However, to be able to raise such a sensible child, there must be a scholar in the family. That's right, his father would exterminate entire clans at the slightest provocation, and his mother would threaten people at the slightest provocation. The Green and Red brothers walked forward and asked a man who was wearing a black jacket and sunglasses, Brother, do you have someone called Aunt Qing here? The jacketed man took off his sunglasses and sized up Dong Huang Li, then looked at Dong Huang Li, then said gravely, Come in with me. The Green and Red brothers were overjoyed. The heavens have eyes. After going through untold hardships, we have finally found our Aunt Qing. Dong Huang Li was also very happy. I am finally able to see the legendary Aunt Qing. After entering the bar, Dong Li covered her ears. It's so noisy. I don't like this place at all. On the other hand, the Green and Red brothers were very curious. The bars in this big city were indeed very fashionable. There were so many beautiful women dressed very sexily, but compared to them, there was still a gap. Their attire was the most fashionable nowadays. The man in the jacket led the three of them to the second floor. They walked through several dark corridors and pushed open one of the doors. It's inside. The Green and Red brothers brought Dong Li into the small house. However, the situation was different from what they had imagined. There was a table with poker cards and an ashtray full of cigarette butts, melon seeds, peanuts, and beer bottles. It looked very messy. A man was sitting on a boss's chair, holding a woman with heavy makeup in his arms. His hands were already inside the woman's clothes. Big Brother Green immediately covered Dong Li's eyes. Children shouldn't look at Dong Li's eyes. Sister Qing, someone is looking for you, the man in the jacket said as he stood at the side. The man patted the woman's butt, and the woman said sweetly, Brother Kun, you're so annoying, huh? Qing Lian walked over to the front of the Green and Red brothers and took a glance at them. Soon after, Qing Lian squatted down and looked towards Dong Li. Not bad, although they are a bit dirty, they can still be counted as beauties. Dong Li immediately hid behind Big Brother Green and looked at the woman in front of her vigilantly. Her voice is so ugly, she is not Aunt Qing, tell me, how much? Qing Lian smiled. Little Brother Red wrinkled his brows and said, Are you sick? We are here to look for someone. Big Brother Green knew that he had gone to the wrong place, and he immediately pulled onto Dong Li and walked towards the exit. The man in the jacket blocked the door and flashed a knife in his hand. His intention couldn't be more obvious. This isn't a place where you can come and go as you please. Qing Lian said coldly. Kun Chong, who was sitting in the boss's chair, stood up, took out a cigar, and sniffed it. The little girl stays. You can go. It wasn't that the Green and Red brothers didn't mingle in the outside world before, it was just that they had already washed their hands of the outside world and decided not to mingle anymore. In this kind of situation, there was no need to say anything more. Just fight and run. The two of them could be seen immediately kicking the jacketed man to the ground, then carrying Dong Li, they ran away. Kun Chong picked up the walkie-talkie on the table. Two non-mainstream people ran out. Beat them up. Bring the girl back to me. Yes. Qing Lian giggled and said, When this girl grows up, I'm sure she'll earn a lot of money. I'll feed you until you grow up first. Annoying. Outside, the Green and Red brothers were already surrounded. In this narrow passageway, there were 5 people at the front and 5 people at the back. Big Brother, what should we do? What should we do? Who said that non-mainstream people don't know how to fight? Dong Li also wanted to go up and help, but she was immediately pulled back by the 2 brothers. Big Brother, there are too many people. Little Brother Red held on to his arm when he saw that his arm had turned red. The more they fought, the more people there were. Furthermore, the other party had weapons. Big Brother Green carried on to Dong Li, then gestured towards the window. This little brother naturally understood what Dong Li meant by jumping out of the window. Big Brother Green could be seen taking the lead. While carrying on to Dong Li, he used his arm to smash the window. Luckily, it was only the 2nd floor, and furthermore, it wasn't his first time jumping onto the 2nd floor. Ollie, are you alright? Big Brother Green asked hurriedly. Dong Li was already crying. Uncles treat me too well. Dong Li said while choking with emotions, Ollie is fine. At this moment, Little Brother Red jumped down from the window and shouted out, Big Brother, quickly leave. Sure enough, over 10 youngsters rushed out from the back door while holding onto steel pipes and fruit knives. Big Brother Green cursed inwardly, then carried on to Dong Li and ran away. While running, Little Brother Red cursed out loudly, Did you guys run marathons before? You guys have already run a few streets, yet you are still chasing after me. How can the city's hoodlums run so well? Big Brother Green cursed out. The chase was still continuing. The Green and Red brothers were already out of breath from running, and the group of hoodlums behind them were the same as well. However, they still didn't give up. Little Brother Red turned around and pointed at the hoodlums and shouted out, "How big of a hatred do you guys have for me to chase after you guys for a few kilometers?" One of the hoodlums could be seen holding onto the railing and said while gasping for breath, I just can't stand you non-mainstream people. Fuck. If it wasn't for me being hungry today, I would have already knocked you down." Little Brother Red was very imposing, but his appearance wasn't impressive at all. "Brothers, chop them to death." Little Brother Red cursed out, then ran away once again. Chapter 197. The boss of the delinquents at the back signaled to the delinquents to surround them. This was the advantage of being a local tyrant, they knew the location of the delinquents. While carrying Dong Huangli, Little Red ran into the alleyway. However, just when he ran to the center of the alleyway, the road in front of him was blocked. Big Brother Green stretched out his hand and slapped, "Where are the bends? Open a path for me." "Big Brother, I didn't know that it would be like this either. There are indeed a lot of bends in our village, while in the big city, there are a lot of bends." Little Brother Red felt wronged. Dong Huangli said in a low voice, "Uncle, let's surrender, Li has a way." "Surrender? That's impossible, it's impossible in this lifetime." Big Brother Green looked to the side. "There is actually a bar here as well. Aren't you afraid of closing down by opening a bar here?" "Ching Bar, the name is too ugly." Big Brother Green said gravely, "Let's hide inside first." "Good idea." Without thinking, the two immediately pushed open the door and entered the house beside them. Those delinquents hurriedly ran over, but did not rush into the house. "Big Brother, what should we do?" "What else can we do? Let's go." Not long later, all of the delinquents left. In actuality, in Long and City, all of the bars wouldn't take the initiative to provoke this bar. It wasn't that they didn't provoke this bar before, it was that they couldn't afford to provoke this bar, because this bar was called Ching Bar. Green and Red brothers laid at the entrance of the bar and looked outside with a puzzled look. Why did they all run away? "Uncle, they all ran away." Dong Huangli was also feeling dizzy. Dong Huangli was completely confused. Suddenly, a voice rang out from behind. "Sorry, the bar is already closed." Wei Chang said courteously, just like a gentleman. Green and Red brothers turned around and said embarrassedly, all right, we will leave now." Dong Huangli could be seen turning around and saying with a childish voice, "Sorry for disturbing." When Wei Chang saw Dong Huangli's face, his pitch-black eyes immediately became serious. Why does this child look so much like his honor? Furthermore, there is actually a slight aura being emitted out from her body. This aura, wait. Wei Chang's expression changed greatly, looking very sinister. This loud shout startled Tang Wei, who was cleaning at the back. She immediately ran over and asked, "Uncle Wei, what happened?" Wei Chang slowly walked towards Dong Huangli. The Green and Red brothers immediately stood in front of Dong Huangli, and the Green and Red brothers looked like they were going to risk their lives to block Dong Huangli's path. Right now, Wei Chang was very emotional, and even Tang Wei was unable to hold him back. Bang! The Green and Red brothers were sent flying to the sides, knocked against the wall, and fainted. "Uncle Green, Uncle Red!" Dong Huangli shouted out anxiously. She wanted to run over and check on their injuries, but her body was bound by a formless power. Dong Huangli could be seen glaring at Wei Chang, then said with a childish voice, "Bad uncle, let go of me. You're a bad person." "Uncle Wei." Tang Wei shouted out worriedly. Wei Chang didn't pay attention to Dong Huangli and was fixedly staring at Dong Huangli. All kinds of possibilities were appearing in his mind. "Let me go." Dong Huangli suddenly became enraged, and her pair of eyes immediately flickered with a red light. Dong Huangli's powerful aura burst out, and she actually broke free from Wei Chang's restraint, then threw her small fist towards Wei Chang. Right now, Wei Chang was extremely excited. This aura is actually the same as his honor's aura. Then who was she? Moreover, a little girl was actually able to break free from his restraints. This was too unbelievable. Wei Chang stretched out his index finger, and Dong Huang Li's small fist struck onto Wei Chang's index finger. A berserk qi swept out in all directions. Wei Chang hurriedly dispelled this wave of qi, otherwise he would have to clean up again. Dong Huang Li, who stretched out her small fist, seemed to have used too much strength, then slowly closed her eyes. Wei Chang stretched out his hand and hugged onto Dong Huang Li. Uncle Wei, she? Tang Wei asked curiously. Xiao Tang, Uncle Wei won't be sending you back today, something big happened. Wei Chang held on to Dong Huang Li's small hand and sensed the aura within Dong Huang Li's body. That's right. This is his honor's aura, and it is actually so pure. Tang Wei wrinkled her brows and said worriedly, Uncle Wei, I'll stay here and accompany you then. Wei Chang nodded his head, then immediately contacted his honor. I'm afraid that his honor's vacation will end in advance. Yi Hua, who was far away in Sanya, was currently feeling rather comfortable. Ever since that day when they were filming the outdoor scene, Yi Hua and Qin Yutong couldn't bear to watch on anymore. Yi Zizi calculated for a bit. In this 1 hour, Yi Hua would kiss at least 10 times. Qin Yutong calculated for a bit. Big sister would be kissed at least 240 times a day. So scary, indeed. Sometimes, not only would Yi Hua take the initiative, Qinya had also learned to take the initiative. This made Yi Hua very happy. In the end, the two of them indulged in pleasure to the point that they forgot about their duties and duties. If they didn't kiss each other, they would feel that something was missing. In actuality, this also meant that the relationship between Yi Hua and Qinya had already risen to a certain level. In the past, Qinya would passively accept it, and sometimes, she would even say that she wanted Yi Hua to admit that she was a swindler. But now, there was no need for that at all. For example, right now, Yi Hua was fiercely biting onto Qinya, and Qinya had a look of enjoyment on her face as she hugged onto Yi Hua's neck. After a long time, they finally separated. My lips are already swollen from being sucked on by you. Qinya pursed her cherry lips. This hateful fellow is becoming more and more like a child. Yi Hua directly carried Qinya into his embrace and lightly caressed Qinya's lower abdomen. Feeling the little fellow's aura, it's very pure. Yi Hua, what do you think our child should be called? Qinya asked curiously while lying on Yi Hua's chest. Yi Hua said faintly, that is definitely the most resounding name. Could it be Yi Xiangliang? Yi Hua couldn't help but knock on Qinya's forehead. To think that you can even think of something like that. Aya, you hit my forehead again. What should I do if I become stupid? Qinya puffed out her cheeks and looked at Yi Hua with hidden bitterness. Seeing that the woman was acting coquettishly, Yi Hua couldn't help but press down on her and fiercely bite down on her. So soft and so sweet. Your honor. Your honor. Just as Yi Hua was enjoying his wife's lips, Wei Chang's exclamation rang out in his mind. While kissing onto Qinya's lips, Yi Hua replied coldly, if there's nothing, don't disturb me. Your honor, something big happened. Yi Hua sat up and wrinkled his brows. Wei Chang never talked about something big before. Even if he never talked about it before. To be able to make me so flustered. Yi Hua, what's wrong? Qinya asked concernedly. Yi Hua shook his head, then walked to the balcony and lit up a cigarette. What's going on? Your honor, you should quickly come back and take a look. This matter is really hard to explain. Look at what? Yi Hua asked coldly. This fellow's so-called big matter is looking at things? Looking at a person, your honor, this matter cannot be sloppy. Since Qinya had already said it to this point, Yi Hua didn't ask anymore. However, he wasn't very anxious. Walking into the house, Yi Hua asked, Qinya, book the earliest flight tomorrow, we are going back. Did something happen? Qinya immediately became worried. Yi Hua laughed lightly, don't worry, it's just a small matter. Stop bragging, if it's just a small matter, then what's the big matter? Yihua stretched out his hand and lifted onto Qinya's chin, then said faintly, "To me, you are my big matter." "Yihua. You have changed." Qinya cried out in surprise. You've become glib." "I want the original version of Yihua, you are too bad. I want to downgrade. Sorry, I will only become worse and worse." After speaking, Yihua pressed onto Qinya once again. "In the past, I felt that the king not attending morning court was bullsh*t, but now, I feel that the saying is indeed somewhat reasonable." Chapter 198. Qin Yutong and Yizizi were lying on the ground all the way back, not knowing what the two of them were doing at night. 1.5 hours later, they arrived at Long City's airport. Qin Yutong and Yizizi continued to act as walking zombies. Qinya looked at her own little sister and shook her head. "How old are you already, and yet you are still playing around with Yizizi?" To be precise, it should be Yizizi playing with Qin Yutong. 40 minutes later, the group finally arrived at the entrance of Leisure Bar. "Yihua, I want to eat Chinese jianbing, brother-in-law. I want to eat too, big brother. Zizi wants to eat too. I also want to add eggs and ham sausage," Yihua said faintly. "Carry the luggage inside by yourself." "Brother-in-law, aren't you embarrassed to let 3 beautiful women carry so many things?" Yihua turned his head around and said to his sister-in-law, "Moving is fine too." "Brother-in-law, how can I let you carry such heavy things? Leave them all to me. I have great strength." Qinya rolled her eyes at her little sister. "Where is your moral integrity?" "Big sister Qin, Zizi has little strength. I will leave it to you. I am going upstairs to sleep." After finished speaking, Zizi held on to Qinya's hand and bounced into Leisure Bar. Qin Yutong looked at the 5 big chests and let out a deep sigh. "Why are you all bullying me?" Inside Leisure Bar, Wei Chang and Dong Huangli were looking at each other, and the atmosphere was a bit strange. Tang Wei, who was standing behind Wei Chang, didn't know what to say either. Why did Uncle Wei suddenly go and make things difficult for a child? Green and Red brothers were tied onto a stool, and black cloth was stuffed onto their mouths. Who knows what they were wiping? Big Brother Green, woo. Imperial translation: "If you have the guts, let's have a fight." Little Brother Red, woo. Imperial translation: "Beauty, do you want to know about non-mainstream?" Dong Huangli pouted her mouth and said angrily, "Uncle, you are a bad person." "Who are you?" Wei Chang asked seriously. "Ali is not going to tell you." Dong Huangli snorted and turned her head. Wei Chang continued asking, "Where did you come from?" "Not telling." "Not telling." "I won't say it even if you beat me to death." Veins were popping out on Wei Chang's forehead. It was clear that Wei Chang was angered quite a bit by little Ali. However, before his honor returns, Wei Chang didn't dare to do anything to little Ali. Gurgle, Dong Huangli's stomach let out a growl, and Dong Huangli, who was originally aggressive, immediately blushed. Dong Huangli's big eyes even took a glance at Wei Chang and Tang Wei. Pfft! Tang Wei was amused by Dong Huangli's expression. "Dong Huangli is so cute." "Big sister, don't think that just because you are beautiful, you can laugh at Ali. Ali hasn't eaten anything for an entire day. It is normal for her stomach to be growling," Dong Huangli snorted. Dong Huangli had a look of, "You are all bad people," to actually laugh at a child's stomach that was growling. Wei Chang heaved a sigh of relief. "Little Tang, go get something." "Okay, Uncle Wei." When Dong Huangli looked at the snacks in front of her, Dong Huangli swallowed her saliva. "Humph, how dare you use delicacies to tempt Ali?" "It's no use. Ali will never surrender," she pursed her lips and vowed solemnly. Wei Chang was also amused by Dong Huangli's actions. Wei Chang picked up a French fry and placed it in front of Dong Huangli's eyes, then slowly shook the French fry. Dong Huangli's big eyes followed the French fry and turned around. "Hungry?" Dong Huangli said, "Hungry, they are all yours, eat as much as you want." Wei Chang said with a smile. "Uncle, let go of Uncle Green and Uncle Red, they haven't eaten their fill for a few days." Dong Huangli begged. Wei Chang waved his hand, and the ropes that were tied to the Green and Red brothers fell off. The two regained their freedom and immediately ran towards Dong Huangli. Big Brother Green was protecting Dong Huangli, Little Brother Red was protecting the snacks on the table. Don't be nervous, I don't have any ill intentions, just eat. Wei Chang said faintly. I would be a fool if I believed you. You have already tied them up for an entire night, and you still dare to say that you don't have any ill intentions. However, the food is really delicious. Suddenly, a voice rang out from the doorway. Wei Chang, who are they? Qin Ye walked over while holding onto Yi Zizi's hand, and Qin Yutong who was carrying a suitcase followed behind them. Yi Zizi retracted the smile on her face and looked at Dong Huangli who was eating on the table confusedly. Yi Zizi had the same feeling as Wei Chang. Lady boss, she. Wei Chang didn't know how to explain. Dong Huangli who was gorging herself on the food placed down the food that she was holding onto, then said to everyone with a smile, My name is Dong Huangli, Ali. Qin Ye cried out in surprise. Qin Yutong directly threw down her suitcase and ran towards Dong Huangli. The corner of Yi Zizi's mouth twitched slightly. My opponent is actually so young. Are you Aunt Qin? Looking at Qin Yutong's excited expression and her voice which was exactly the same as Qin Yutong's, Dong Huangli mumbled. Qin Yutong pointed at herself and said, That's me, I am Aunt Qin. The green and red brothers stood silently at the side. The three that came in are so beautiful, and one of them is such a lowly. From the looks of it, they seem to be very rich, and they seem to be very imposing. Dong Huangli's face could be seen collapsing as she hugged onto Qin Yutong. Ali, I finally found you. Woo-woo, Ali, don't cry. Qin Yutong hurriedly comforted Dong Huangli, then took a look at the green and red brothers who were at the side. Just by looking at the way they dress up, I can tell that they aren't good people. They are definitely the ones who kidnapped little Ali. Qin Ye walked over and said tenderly, Ali, be good, don't cry. Ali, don't cry, Ali, be happy. Aunt Qin, as expected, all of you look very beautiful, all of you look exactly the same. This sentence was very pleasant to hear. Women wouldn't turn away from other people's praises. However, Qin Ye glared at her younger sister. Why aren't you changing your face? You are Aunt Yi. You are only a bit taller than Ali. Dong Huangli pointed at Yi Zizi and cried out in surprise. The corner of Yi Zizi's mouth twitched slightly. Don't call me aunt, I am only a bit taller than you. A little thing calling another little thing aunt, don't you think that's a bit hurtful? Big brother, their relationship is so complicated. Little Brother Red said in a low voice. There are so many aunties. Yi Zizi looked around for a bit, then asked curiously, where is uncle? Qin Ye pinched onto Dong Huangli's little face and said tenderly, Uncle is outside to buy something, he will be coming over very soon. Why do I suddenly feel that Ali looks a bit like, who does she look like? At this moment, Yihua walked in from the outside while holding onto a Chinese jianbing and said faintly, your breakfast. Just that, right after Yihua finished speaking, Yihua froze, as if his acupoints were poked by someone, and he stared blankly at Dong Huangli who was in Qin Yutong's embrace. Meanwhile, Dong Huangli was also staring blankly at Yihua. Qin Ye looked left and right. No wonder I felt that Ali looks like a person just now, doesn't she look like Yihua? However, Qin Yutong had the same thought as well. Don't look at how Ali looks like a person right now, her eyes, nose, and mouth are actually so similar to brother-in-law's. This is too mystical, right? She can't be brother-in-law's illegitimate daughter, right? Qin Yutong immediately understood the truth. However, Qin Ye didn't think that Yihua was an illegitimate daughter. In actuality, she didn't dare to think that way. Right now, Yihua's breathing was a bit hurried. This little girl actually has my aura, how is this possible? Chapter 199. Yihua, who had never been nervous before, right now, he seemed very nervous and confused. Dong Huangli didn't have so many thoughts in her mind, she just wanted to get closer to her uncle. Dong Huangli stretched out her little hands and shouted, Uncle, hug. Hearing the little girl's call, Yihua didn't think much and slowly walked over, then took over Dong Huangli who was in Qin Yutong's embrace. When Yihua carried Dong Huangli in his embrace, he discovered that their bloodlines were connected. Could she be my child? Did she pop out from the crack of a rock? Or did she grow out from a vine? Dong Huangli felt a very comfortable smell. She just wanted to hug Uncle, because Uncle smells so good, even better than Mother. Qinya's expression was a bit flustered. Looking at her, they look even more alike. Especially the gentleness on Yihua's face, and the intoxicated look on Dong Huangli's face. Qinya hurriedly shook her head and got rid of this impossible thought. However, did Yihua suddenly come back in a hurry just to see Ali? Wei Cheng and Yizizi took a glance at each other. They seemed to have already realized something from his honor's appearance. Qin Yutong began to let out her rich imagination. My child has finally found her father. However, this also represented a terrifying matter. Brother-in-law has another woman outside. Qinya immediately looked towards her big sister, and as expected, her expression wasn't very good. I reckon that big sister is thinking the same thing as me. Big sister hates men who are fickle and love the most, and she is even disgusted with dad having 2 women. Oh my God, if my guess is right, this will definitely be a family storm, and they might even divorce. Right now, all of Yihua's attention was placed on Dong Huangli, who was in his embrace, and he didn't notice Qinya's abnormal expression at all. The atmosphere was a bit strange, no one dared to speak. Even Yizizi, who liked to cause trouble, was silent. After a long time, Yihua looked towards the green and red brothers. The latter was immediately startled. This man's gaze isn't very friendly. Wei Cheng, drag them out. Yihua said coldly while carrying Dong Huangli. Yes. Dong Huangli, who was in Yihua's embrace, said hurriedly, Uncle, don't chase them away. According to his previous attitude, Yihua would definitely not pay attention to them, and would even teach them a lesson. No one can disobey his words. Although Qinya appeared, right now, a second person appeared. Why? Yihua's tone wasn't very stiff. Uncle, it was Uncle Green and Uncle Red who sent Ali over. If it wasn't for Uncle Green and Uncle Red, Ali would have starved to death. Dong Huangli raised her head and looked at Yihua. I really like this uncle. I really want to stay in his embrace forever and never come out. Yihua took a look at the green and red brothers, then said faintly, Wei Cheng, I will leave them to you. Yes. Although it was just a few short words, it was enough to change the fate of the green and red brothers. However, right now, the green and red brothers were completely confused. They had no idea how powerful the man in front of them was. If they were to escort his bloodline back, they would become the next death mage. This was not something money could compare to. Big brother, in any case, we were also hoodlums in the past, but now that we have been demoted, we have to become security guards. Little brother Red said quietly. If they went back now, they would be reluctant to part with Ali. Big brother Green said in a low voice, let's wait and see first. If they don't treat Ali well, we will take Ali to see Papa and Mama. That's fine. We're still wanted criminals anyway. Let's hide for a while first. Yihua carried Dong Huangli and walked upstairs. When he passed by Qinya, Yihua held on to Qinya's tender and delicate hand. When the two of them disappeared from the top of the stairs, everyone let out a breath of relief. Wei Cheng was still very happy. After all, his honor has gained another bloodline. These 2 non-mainstream people have made a great contribution. You too will follow me in the future. Wei Cheng laughed loudly. This is a happy occasion, it is worth celebrating. Yizizi revealed out a sincere smile. With more and more of his honor's bloodline, it means that his honor will be able to create a brand new dynasty just like humans. Of course, this was not the main point, the bloody process was what Yizizi wanted. In actuality, Wei Cheng's thoughts were more or less the same. Big brother Green patted onto his little brother's shoulder, don't be discouraged, you will be able to protect Ali by being a security guard. I wonder how much a security guard will earn a month, will it be 2,000 RMB? Will the security guard provide food and accommodation? Little brother Red was very worried. Big brother Green looked towards Wei Cheng and asked, Brother, there should be 5 types of insurance and 1 type of housing, right? Hearing what Big Brother Green said, everyone laughed. Yi Zizi shouted out, there are 2 honest people here, everyone, quickly come and bully them. The only ones who would be able to survive in front of a group of monsters were the Green and Red brothers. Qin Yutong laughed tenderly, then looked upstairs worriedly and started to worry in her heart. Uncle, Li wants to sleep, Dong Huangli said while tightly hugging onto Yi Hua's neck. Yi Hua said gravely, go and take a bath first, then sleep. Qinya, carry Ali and take a bath. Yi Hua handed Dong Huangli, who was in his embrace, over to Qinya. Alright, Yi Hua, go and buy a few sets of clothes for Ali, while carrying on to Dong Huangli, Qinya said tenderly. Yi Hua nodded his head, then took out his phone and went to buy a few sets of clothes for Ali. Aunt Qin, Ali is able to take a bath by herself, there is no need to trouble you. Dong Huangli said sweetly, appearing to be very sensible. Qinya was also amused by Dong Huangli's adorable expression. No matter how many suspicions I have, they are still just suspicions. Yi Hua will not lie to me. Little Ali, let's go and take a bath together, okay? Qinya tidied up Dong Huangli's hair and said tenderly. Then, can Ali give Aunt Qing a back rub? Of course. Li likes Aunt Qing. While laughing, Qinya carried on to Dong Huangli and walked into the bathroom. If it was any other time, Yi Hua, this jealous king, would definitely fly into a rage, but right now, Yi Hua didn't feel anything. Yi Hua took out a cigarette, then stood beside the window and lit it up. If Ali didn't sprout out from a crack in a rock, and didn't grow out from a vine, could it be that she was born? How is that possible? I have only touched 2 women. Thinking up to here, Yi Hua's gaze was filled with astonishment, and the cigarette in his hand was extinguished. That night 3 years ago, could it be that it was her? Thinking back to those few days when I was playing games, Ali said that she was almost 3 years old, and that her mother was very beautiful, but her father died. Damn it. This woman actually cursed me to die. Throwing away the cigarette, what's the point of thinking so much? I should just directly capture that woman and find out the truth. No. Qinya. Yi Hua's brows were solemn as he let out a heavy sigh. If Qinya were to find out about this matter, she would definitely quarrel with me. Just like during these few days when I was playing, whenever I took a look at other women, I would become extremely jealous and act coquettishly. Right now, it isn't the problem of me taking a look at a beautiful woman, and I even ended up having a child. Right now, it wasn't easy for me to train Qinya to be obedient. Could it be that I have to return back to how I was in the past? I, the Supreme Overlord, am actually being troubled by such a lousy matter. This damned human nature, I really want to go back to how I was before and return back to how I was before. For such a big matter, he had to gather his subordinates and hold a summit meeting. This is the most serious matter that I have ever encountered. Chapter 200. The Green and Red brothers who were in the lobby were very flabbergasted. Just a moment ago, they were still listening to Wei Chang's lecture, and suddenly, they said that they had a stomachache and went to the toilet, and then, the little loli upstairs also followed them and went to the toilet. Big Brother Green said in a low voice, I feel that there's something wrong with Uncle Wei and the little loli. I think so too, that Tang Wei seems to be Uncle Wei's girlfriend. Little Brother Red was very curious. The bars in the big city sure are messy, they are too brazen. Big Brother Green rubbed his head. Our way of thinking is still too old-fashioned, and we can't keep up with the pace of the big city. That's right, I feel that I have already fallen in love with the pace of a big city. Little Brother Red said with a light smile. So this is what a big city is like, it's so open in the toilet. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Wei Cheng, Lai Gu, Yi Zizi, 3 of the 7 deadly sins were all present. Stop kneeling, the ground is dirty. Yi Hua said lightly. Thank you, Your Honor, for understanding us. The 3 stood up and shouted out. Pausing for a moment, Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. You all should know about what happened today, right? Lai Gu also found out about this news from Wei Chang, and he was incomparably shocked in his heart. His honor's bloodline is already out, and I thought that it would take a few more months. Subordinate thinks that this is a happy occasion. For his honor to be able to reunite with little his honor, it is a very auspicious sign. Wei Chang said with a smile, and the other two nodded their heads as well. Yihua's brows wrinkled as he said gravely, Ali is indeed my bloodline, but the person who gave birth to her. Speaking up to here, Yihua looked towards his three subordinates. You three should know which woman it is, right? I don't know. Yi Zizi raised her hand and shouted. She looked as if she didn't want her to answer the question. However, Wei Chang and Lai Gu knew about this matter. Lai Gu said solemnly, Your Honor, since the matter has already happened, just bring that madam over. With your honor's lofty status, it is perfectly normal for you to have another woman. Wei Chang, what do you think? Yihua let out a mouthful of smoke and asked. Wei Chang pondered for a moment. This subordinate feels that this matter still needs to be discussed with Furen. Of course, there is also the matter of whether the other wife is willing or not. Right now, Wei Chang knew how to think from another person's point of view, and it was precisely because of this that he had yet to push Tang Wei down. Yi Zizi pursed her lips. What's there to be unwilling about? Just grab him and bring him over. Yihua glared at Yi Zizi, and Yi Zizi immediately shut her mouth. In the past, his honor didn't have so many worries. It would be great if it was that easy. This was the bad side of human nature. They had to take care of one side and appease the other. How troublesome. Lai Gu, how did you get those women together? Yihua asked faintly. For this kind of question, I still have to consult Lai Gu. After all, Lai Gu has 3 women, and it seems like they are still able to stay together peacefully. Lai Gu pondered for a while, then said respectfully, Your Honor, subordinate doesn't know either. In any case, I just pushed, and then, as I pushed, they all ended up together. Yi Zizi had a look of disdain on her face. Lecherous dragon. I am a human, this is a human's nature, all right? Lai Gu was unwilling to accept it and argued with Yi Zizi. Wei Chang said, Your Honor, subordinate feels that those who are able to catch your honor's fancy are definitely not ordinary women. Of course, we can't use ordinary methods to get them. Yi Zizi clapped her hands. I understand now. Gluttonous monster means that if your honor buys new clothes for madam will accept Ali, am I right? Yihua, Wei Chang, Lai Gu, Wei Chang, what you mean is for me to not make a move for now? Yihua asked curiously. Wei Chang nodded his head. That's right, let madam and little his honor get to know each other first, and let them develop a favorable impression of each other. Even if the matter is exposed, Madam Qinya wouldn't make things difficult for Ali, that makes sense. Yihua nodded his head. After remaining silent for a while, Yihua continued to ask, What do you guys think, should I accept that woman? Lai Gu raised his hand and answered. Speak. Lai Gu immediately said, Your Honor, subordinate feels that we must accept her. If little his honor is really born from her, then she should have a status. After all, little his honor is his honor's bloodline, a mother's status depends on her daughter. Wei Chang and Yi Zizi were startled. There's nothing wrong with what Lai Gu said. Lai Gu, I am very happy that you decided to use your brain and not your lower body. Lai Gu smiled complacently. Who said that I only know how to use my lower body? Just look at how his honor praised me. Your honor, then, when are we going to invite the other madam over? Wei Chang asked the crucial question. Yihua stepped on the cigarette and said gravely, Wait for my order. Yes. 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 You guys can disperse now. Oh right, Wei Chang, take good care of those 2 non-mainstream people. Yihua instructed, then disappeared and appeared in the bedroom. Lai Gu went into a daze, then asked curiously, What non-mainstream people? The 2 humans who escorted his honor's bloodline back. Wei Chang laughed. F***K, those 2 fellows got lucky, his honor even specially instructed them to do so, formidable, formidable. Lai Gu gave a thumbs up, then disappeared from the toilet. Yi Zizi walked out of the toilet while yawning, and the green and red brothers who were outside immediately turned their heads around. Wei Cheng walked to the front of the two and said, "Do you guys want to continue protecting Ali?" The green and red brothers looked at each other, then said in unison, "Yes." Wei Cheng was very satisfied with this answer. Yi Hua, who returned to his bedroom, heard the sounds of playing coming out from the bathroom, and the corner of his mouth slightly curved up. However, very quickly, the corner of his mouth fell back down. The woman from 3 years ago, and also Qinya, how did they suddenly hit the jackpot? This deity really never misses a shot. However, this was also good. The more bloodlines there were, the better. The only problem was how to allow them to coexist. Why is it that those humans can have groups of wives and concubines, but I can't? Let's wait and see first. If it doesn't work, then I will use forceful means. I, the Supreme Overlord, am not afraid of 2 women. Thinking back to the woman from 3 years ago, Yi Hua felt that the woman was still not bad. She was barely able to be his woman. Of course, he still needed to train her up a bit. After all, that woman was even more arrogant than Qinya. From how long she lasted, it could be seen that she was in a state where she was not willing to admit defeat. After a while, Qinya, who was wearing pajamas, came out with Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli was all smiles, and she seemed to be very happy. "Uncle, hug me." Yi Hua smiled lightly and hugged onto Li. Is this the feeling of a child? The feeling of wanting to take good care of her and protect her was so subtle. Right now, Yi Hua was finally able to understand the thoughts of those humans from 3 years ago. After killing the small, the big would come, and after killing the big, the old would come. If it was me, I would also do the same. Qinya let out a sigh of relief. Looking at Yi Hua and Li, they really look like father and daughter. I can't help but say, a woman's intuition is very scary. Uncle, Li doesn't want to sleep anymore. Ali wants to play chicken with Aunt Yi and the others. Dong Huangli nestled in Yi Hua's embrace and said in a low voice. Because she was a bit afraid that her uncle would scold her. After all, her mother always scolds her. Yi Hua said lightly, "All right." Chapter 201. This caused Yi Hua to laugh out loud. Qinya, who was at the side, pouted her small mouth. When I want to play a few rounds with you, you are always unwilling. But when Ali wants to play with you, you are acting like this. This is not fair. I want it too. Qinya was unwilling to accept it. All right, Ali will bring Aunt Qing to the chicken dinner. Dong Huangli clapped her hands and said with a smile. Yi Hua said faintly, your Aunt Qinya is very noob. It's all right, Ali is already used to it. Qinya, you guys are such bullies carrying Ali. Yi Hua walked into Qin Yutong's room, and sure enough, everyone was sitting together in the 4th row. And when Yi Zizi and Dong Huangli meet each other, a battle would definitely be unavoidable. Aunt Yi, you killed one less person than Ali. Hee, don't call me aunt. I'm only 8 years old. Acting young, but you are Auntie Qing's little sister. If Ali calls you big sister, then Ali also has to call Auntie Qing big sister. Ali feints so confusing. Qinya and Qin Yutong couldn't help but laugh. Yi Hua sat at the side and silently looked at the 4 of them playing the game. In actuality, he was feeling very vexed in his heart. The appearance of Osli was too unexpected, to the point that he didn't know what to do. From the looks of it, Qinya's position in my heart is already very high. If not, I wouldn't be feeling this kind of emotion right now. If it was when I first met Qinya, I definitely wouldn't have so many worries. No matter how strong he was, he would still have to give up when he encountered family problems. It was really hard to be a human. Being a human was indeed difficult, but being a skeleton was much more enjoyable. For example, the current death mage had been having a great time in Ying family for the past few days. He would play games with Sun Fang every day, and when he ran out of money, he would ask Do Fusher to calculate for him. In the end, he dug up the entire Ying family. Who would have thought that the Ying family's feng shui was such a treasured place, with good stuff everywhere? the people of the Ying family complained incessantly. Although the two of them didn't interfere with the internal affairs of the Ying family and only played games every day, if this continued, the Ying family would soon fall apart. It was infuriating, but they didn't dare to do anything to them. Especially that youngster. Every day, he would walk around Ying family with a compass, and as long as he was able to calculate something, he would ask Heavy Dust to directly dig it out. I really want to steal that compass. Fuck, those treasures were placed there by my Ying family's own people. Their goal was to create a man-made feng shui treasure land. The heavens want my Ying family to perish. Right now, within Ying family's side room, Death Mage and Sun Fang were lying on the bed with a solemn expression on their faces. Sun Fang could be heard mumbling, go and die, burp. After killing Sun Fang over 100 times, the Death Mage's warrior was finally defeated by Sun Fang's human wave attack. Looking at the fallen Death Mage on the screen, Sun Fang was stupefied. Gradually, her eyes turned red, and she started to choke with sobs. I finally killed it. He had finally gotten his revenge. Death Mage let out a sigh. In actuality, he had purposely fallen into Sun Fang's trap today. Seeing that Sun Fang was truly pitiful, he decided to give way to her. Sun Fang could be seen suddenly flipping her body over and riding on Death Mage's body, then smashed onto Death Mage's chest bone with her fists. Do you see this? I am going to kill you. Woo, woo, woo. All of the grievances he had suffered for the past month had exploded out. It was all because of it that he was mocked by everyone and even chased out of the Cloud sect. In the end, I found the culprit, but I was completely unable to kill him. Despair. At that time, I was really in despair, and I even had the heart to die. Although I am unable to kill you in reality, I will kill you in the game. The idea is good, but I was also killed by Death Mage over 100 times in the game. This time, I finally won, and I am finally able to ride on Death Mage's body. Death Mage stretched out his bony finger and wiped off the tears on Sun Fang's face, then quickly typed, "Wife, you look good when you cry. You have to cry more often in the future." Sun Fang's face turned red as she gave Death Mage a kick. Cry your sister. Death Mage was kicked off the bed. What a violent woman. I am starting to like this woman more and more. At Ying family's main hall, the family members were currently having a meeting. Everyone's face could be seen to be filled with unwillingness and anger. Ying Shang glared at Ying family's main hall with a pair of bell-like eyes. His chest was heaving up and down as he shouted out angrily, "Big brother. This voidless realm is going too far." Ying Jingshan, who was sitting on the main seat, had an extremely bad expression on his face, and his eyes were completely bloodshot. The latest news that he received today was that the Empress was actually looking for a little girl, and that little girl was her daughter. Illegitimate daughter. I didn't expect that the Empress was actually such a person. If it wasn't for a single sentence from her, how could there be such a huge change in Ying family within 2 days? My son wouldn't have died, and wouldn't have brought an even bigger disaster to Ying family. What the Empress did was the same as toying with Ying family's dignity. Ying Kangshi's injuries were more or less healed. Right now, he was also sitting at the side and said hurriedly, "I won't blame the Empress for having an illegitimate daughter. As long as I marry her, everything will be fine." Hearing Ying Kangshi still saying such words, everyone couldn't help but want to slap him to death. It feels like you aren't a member of Ying family, and instead, you are the Empress's lackey. Ying Jingshan's bloodshot eyes bulged. Voidless realm is simply provoking us. Although our Ying family is low profile, we will definitely not allow others to bully us like this. If the Empress doesn't give our Ying family an explanation, then let's have a fight. Big brother, I agree. Ying Shang suddenly stood up and shouted out. Ying Kangshi hurriedly persuaded, the Empress didn't mean to do such a thing. If you want to blame someone, blame those 2 women and that group of people. Vile creature. Ying Jingshan could be seen instantly appearing in front of his son, then send him flying with a slap. If not for the sake of your mother, I would have to kill you for what you said just now. Ying Kangshi held onto his cheek and looked at his father in disbelief. Right now, we can only rely on the Empress. Both sides should work together to fight against the Empress. How can our Ying family bow down to others? Fight against who? Sun Fang could be seen walking over with lotus steps, and behind her was Do Fusher. However, Death Mage didn't follow along, not knowing what he went to do. Today, Sun Fang was exceptionally beautiful, and it was as if she had returned back to that cloud sect master. Although her body was only wearing a simple muslin robe, she gave off a strong sense of confidence, and the smile on the corner of her mouth made people unable to take their eyes off her. As expected of the publicly acknowledged pampered girl, Sun Fang. This was also the reason why Sun Fang untied the knot in her heart and completed her revenge. Do Fusher felt as if he was shooting up a rocket these few days. During the first 3 days, his head was buzzing non-stop. I didn't even manage to enter my family, but now, I consecutively jumped 3 levels, jumping over my family, and even jumping over the heads of the 3 big powers. The luckiest thing that happened in my entire life was that night when I went out to catch a ghost, and furthermore, I caught the wrong ghost. Although it was a bit embarrassing, but without the embarrassment on that day, I wouldn't have the face I have today. In family. Even one of the 3 big powers has to treat me respectfully. This is simply great. I must properly repay the evil ghost couple and help them earn more money to play games. Chapter 202. Inkongshire, who was on the ground, lowered his head, not daring to look straight at Sun Fang. Meanwhile, all of the people from Ing family ran out and cupped their hands respectfully. Lady Sun. Sun Fang nodded her head silently, then said with a light smile, "Don't be nervous, I am just passing by. You all can continue with your meeting." All of the relatives were shocked, and Ing Jingshan hurriedly said, "Lady Sun, don't misunderstand. We are very loyal to his honor." "That would be for the best," Sun Fang said. After pausing for a moment, Ing Jingshan continued, "Lady Sun, we were discussing about Voidless Realm just now." Sun Fang was puzzled for a moment. Voidless Realm? Voidless Realm? Although I was the sect master in the past, I was still very unfamiliar with the 3 big shots. I had only heard of them before. Ing Shang added, "Lady Sun, Voidless Realm is one of the 3 big shots, and they are the power that controls the entire north." "Why? Did they provoke you?" Sun Fang asked. Ing Jingshan said gravely, "Lady Sun, Voidless Realm's Empress originally wanted to marry my son into her family, but it was only recently that we found out that the Empress has an illegitimate daughter." What's wrong with someone else having a daughter?" Sun Fang asked curiously. "What a coincidence, the one that Voidless Realm's Empress snatched the Empress's goods." Everyone lowered their heads slightly, and Ing Jingshan continued, "The Empress has always been known as holy and noble, and to be able to obtain the Empress's favor, we, Ing family, feel honored. However, the Empress actually has an illegitimate daughter. Not only did the Empress deceive the world, she even trampled on our Ing family's dignity. If that was really the case, we, Ing family, would have just endured it. However, the situation is different now. The Empress has trampled on his honor's face." Ing Jingshan wasn't a fool. He knew that going against Voidless Realm would definitely cause them to suffer losses. However, if his honor were to make a move, it would only take a few minutes for his honor to make a move. With a light smile on her face, Sun Fang nodded her head. "His honor won't bother about you 3 big shots, and he won't make a move either." "Lady Sun, you are mistaken. Everyone in Ing family listens to his honor's orders. Even if we want to make a move against Voidless Realm, we would still have to get his honor's permission. After all, we don't dare to mess with his honor's plans." Sun Fang nodded her head silently. "What you said makes sense. I will report this matter to the higher-ups." Do Fusher was about to faint. Sister-in-law was so imposing, so imposing. She had completely suppressed this group of high and mighty Ing family members, and they didn't even dare to raise their heads. If Do Fusher were to know that Sun Fang possessed a command plate that could instantly destroy Ing family, he would understand why this group of people lowered their heads. Everyone's lives were in the hands of others. Not to mention lowering their heads, they had no choice but to kneel and lick their boots. Sun Fang waved her hand, indicating that you all can continue with your work. "I won't be accompanying you all in this meeting. I might as well go back and recharge my money to play games." Then, I can kill the demonic beasts a few more times. Lord Sun, this subordinate still has one more thing to report. Jingshan took a step forward and hastily shouted. Sun Fang stopped in her tracks, but she didn't turn around. Speak. This matter was caused by the fight over the ancient godly item last time. The North is openly snatching the ancient godly item. Before Sun Fang finished speaking, Sun Fang had already walked towards the outside and said calmly, "It is fine for you all to decide on this kind of small matter yourselves. His honor doesn't have the time to care about it." The corner of Ing family's relative's mouth twitched slightly. I have seen formidable people before, but I have never seen such formidable people before. If this is considered a small matter, then what is considered a big matter? Of course, it was a family conflict. After Sun Fang returned to the room, she told Death Mage about this matter. After hearing what Sun Fang said, Death Mage went silent for a moment. I heard from my master that his honor wants to cause a dispute between the North and the South as soon as possible. Regardless of whether it is the small matter or the big matter, his honor still wants to first seek his honor's opinion. Next, Death Mage sent the information to his honor via WeChat. Wei Chang immediately replied, "Don't send WeChat messages in the future, it is a waste of my data." Death Mage was greatly shocked and promised that he would report to his honor personally in the future. Yi Hua, who was currently watching the two adults and two children playing games in the room, heard that Wei Chang had something to report to him. Wei Chang's figure appeared very quickly. Kneeling down on one knee, Wei Chang shouted respectfully, "Subordinate pays respect to his honor." N. Yi Hua replied faintly as he took out a cigarette and lit it up. Sun Fang just sent news over. Wei Chang bowed slightly and said. Yi Hua puffed out a mouthful of smoke, then leaned against the window and signaled Wei Chang to continue speaking. Recalling the contents of Death Mage's report, Wei Chang said, "The godly item that his honor subdued that day is one of the three big shots, Ing family. These three big shots control the entire North and South, and Ing family belongs to the South." Yi Hua replied faintly, seemingly not in the mood to cause any trouble. Wei Chang knew that his honor was vexed, but he still had to continue reporting. This Ing family was originally going to have a marriage alliance with one of the big shots in the North. However, it seems that they were cheated, and Ing family's face was completely lost. Thus, Ing family wanted to regain their face. Yi Hua said faintly, "Then, we will try to curry favor with Ing family. However, we will not get involved in this matter. It is meaningless for us to fight with one side. Subordinate has already informed his honor, we will not get involved in their dispute." That's good then. I wonder if one of the three big shots would be replaced. If there is such a rule, then it would be fun. Yi Hua sneered. When I am vexed, only blood can calm me down. Wei Chang said respectfully, "Subordinate will go and ask his honor." Also, there is one more matter. Regarding the ancient godly item battle that happened last time, the South intends to take revenge. That's good then, this was originally my plan. Keep an eye on Xiao Yi's side, don't let him die, he is still useful. Yes. Subordinate has already left a trace of my aura on his Xianyuan sword, so that his honor can have fun with it. Wei Chang said with a slight smile. Seems like what I did back then was correct. Since his honor is in a bad mood, he can only kill someone. I wonder who will be the unlucky one. Yi Hua had the same intention, not bad. Being able to share his honor's worries is subordinate's greatest honor. Yi Hua laughed lightly and patted onto Wei Chang's shoulder. "How are you getting along with little Tang?" It is still in the midst of planning." Wei Chang laughed dryly and said. "I wonder when I will be able to push down little Tang. Recently, little Tang has been cooking soup for me frequently, and I am about to explode from drinking too much of it." Yi Hua sighed lightly and said, "Sometimes, we have to learn from Lai Gu. There is no need to be so particular about it, just directly push down little Tang. Although Lai Gu's method is convenient, it cannot be compared to his honor's method." How honorable is Madam? Naturally, she cannot be compared to ordinary human women. Conquering the body is easy, but conquering the heart is hard. Wei Chang's words hit Yi Hua's heart. Yihua laughed lightly. Wei Chang, you are still the one who understands my intentions well. Subordinate is also just stating facts. Wei Chang revealed a smile. His honor's praise is even more satisfying than killing someone. In the past, his honor always said that I am stupid, but now, I am finally able to share his honor's worries. If Zhu Tian was here, he would definitely give the title of #1 wisdom to you. A slight arc appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth. It is still useful to think about happy things. Wei Chang said very modestly, subordinate's wisdom is not even half as good as Zhu Tian's, and it is even more inferior to his honors. Alright, go back and accompany your girlfriend. In the future, if there is nothing important, don't report to me anymore. My goal is just to make them fight each other. You all can do whatever you want. Chapter 203. Yihua took a look at the time. It's almost noon, should go out and eat. Yihua walked into Qin Yutong's room and saw that the fight inside was in full swing. Yihua looked at his child who was standing on the stool and twisting her little butt. Her hands were not even as big as a mouse, she was too cute. Uncle, come and play. Ali will bring you to eat chicken. I guarantee that I won't steal your limelight. Dong Huangli turned her head around and shouted with a smile, revealing 2 cute dimples. Yihua had heard this sentence many times. Every time, little Ali would not keep her word. This bad habit of hers must have been learned from her mother. Qinya laughed, even your uncle is afraid of you, you always steal uncle's limelight. Ali didn't do it on purpose. Are you going to let Ali watch uncle's head explode in front of you? Dong Huangli pouted her little mouth and said, causing everyone to laugh. Yihua was also quite speechless. Being teased by my own child, however, Yihua did not get angry and said, Ali, it's already noon, what do you want to eat? Ali can just eat steamed buns, it will save uncle money. Hearing this, Qin Yutong felt her heart ache. Ali, uncle, and aunt have plenty of money, you can eat whatever you want. Really? On the way here, Ali ate all of Uncle Green and Red's money, causing Uncle Green and Red to starve. Ali doesn't want you two to starve too. Dong Huangli pouted her mouth, and her eyes immediately turned red. Thinking up to here, Dong Huangli choked with sobs. Ali will always harm people wherever she goes. Woo-woo. Seeing this, Qinya also felt her heart ache. She carried Dong Huangli in her embrace and comforted her. Ali is really sensible, but sensible children shouldn't cry, but Ali just can't hold it in. Dong Huangli nestled in Qinya's embrace and said pitifully. Seeing how sad his child was, Yihua felt very upset. Just what kind of mother am I? How can I let my child suffer? If not for Ali, I would definitely hang her up and beat her up, and let her know that as a mother, I cannot let my child suffer. Yihua carried Dong Huangli and said gravely, Ali, just tell me what you want to eat, I can let you eat anything in this world. Uncle, you are so good to Ali, you are even better than mother. Dong Huangli hugged onto Yihua's neck and said. Hearing these words, Yihua felt very comfortable in his heart. However, when he thought about how Ali's mother made Ali kneel on the keyboard, he immediately became angry. Just you wait. At that time, I, the Supreme Overlord, will also make you kneel on the keyboard. You dare to abuse my child? Yihua rubbed onto Dong Huangli's back, then said to everyone, let's go out and eat first. Everyone smiled and stood up. Qinya asked her little sister in a low voice, Yutong, don't you feel that Yihua is very concerned about Ali? Qin Yutong paused for a moment, then held onto her big sister's arm that was like a lotus root. It might be that brother-in-law likes children more, and adding on that big sister, the child in your stomach has not been born yet, so, Qin Yutong didn't know how to continue making up a story. Your yearning for Ali has turned into an illness, and you are treating Ali as your own child. Qin Yutong felt that this way of putting it should be fine. Qinya wrinkled her brows, really? Could it be fake? After all, little Ali is so cute. Everyone loves her and cars have flat tires. Qinya poked onto her little sister's forehead petulantly, you always have a lot of twisted logic, let's go. Qin Yutong let out a sigh of relief. Ever since that night when I saw brother-in-law display his might, no, the law of acting cool. Qin Yutong felt that brother-in-law is not just an ordinary kind of awesome. How is it possible for such an awesome brother-in-law to be so concerned about an unfamiliar child? It is obviously impossible. The only possibility is that Ali is brother-in-law's child. Just by looking at brother-in-law's loving and caring look, it is clear that Ali is indeed brother-in-law's child. It is fortunate that big sister didn't notice it. However, if brother-in-law continues to hide it from me, when the truth comes out, will big sister be able to bear it? I am truly worried. Everyone came downstairs, and the green and red brothers could be seen holding onto a black pellet, and they were currently hesitating. Uncle Green, Uncle Red, Dong Huang Li shouted out. Little brother Red was startled, and the black pellet that was in his hand fell onto the ground, causing a layer of dust to fall onto it. However, little brother Red didn't despise the black pellet as he picked it up and placed it back into his pocket. The two of you come over as well, Yihua said faintly while carrying on to Dong Huang Li. The green and red brothers were startled. Now that I know that this man is the boss of this shop, I reckon that he must be very rich. Let's go out and eat good food together. This is great. The two walked to the back of the line and chatted with each other in a low voice. Big brother, do you think that the pellet that Uncle Wei gave us is poison? Little brother Red had a very conflicted look on his face. Big brother Green let out a sigh. Uncle Wei said that this pellet can allow us to soar, but I keep feeling that, big brother, don't you think that this pellet is too careless? I saw Uncle Wei touching around his crotch a few times before taking it out. It couldn't be. Little brother Red had a look of knowing the truth, and he almost threw away the pellet. Sigh, I smelled it just now. It shouldn't be that kind of thing. Damn, big brother, you actually smelled it. Little brother Red had a surprised look on his face. Big brother Green raised his hand and slapped onto little brother Red's hand. Are you an idiot? I was smelling to see if it is poison or not. Big brother, can you even smell if it is poison? I am afraid that you will not be poisoned to death, but will be suffocated to death. Little brother Red stretched out his hand and smelled the pellet. Just now, it was my right hand that grabbed onto the pellet. Big brother Green was very annoyed. Forget it, I will decide if I want to eat it or not tonight. This black pellet is a good thing, to other people, it is a treasure, but when it fell into the hands of the green and red brothers, they were hesitating. After all, the pellet was taken out from Wei Chang's crotch. Who knows what it is? After everyone walked out of the alley, Qin Yutong said with a smile, Ali, do you want to eat hot pot? There is a hot pot shop opposite of here, and the taste of the hot pot is pretty good. Dong Huang Li looked towards the direction of the hot pot shop, then immediately buried her head into Yihua's embrace. Ali, don't go there. There is a bad guy over there. Ali, what's wrong? Qinya rubbed onto Dong Huang Li's head and asked consolingly. Ali doesn't like that hot pot shop, uncle, can we not go there? Dong Huang Li begged. This expression of hers made Yihua feel very sad. Yihua said gravely, the two of you, come over here. The green and red brothers immediately walked over, feeling a bit nervous. Why doesn't Ali want to go there? Yihua asked coldly. The green and red brothers took a look at each other, and big brother Green said, Boss, yesterday, we passed by that hot pot shop, but when the boss of that hot pot saw that our clothes were dirty and messy, he chased us away. My little brother and I went to the hot pot shop to argue with the boss, and in the end, the boss of that hot pot shop chased us away. After arguing with the boss of that hot pot shop, big brother Green's choice of words was really sharp. Yihua finally understood what was going on, and he asked Dong Huang Li, who was in his embrace, Ali, was it like this? Uncle, back then, Ali was indeed dirty and messy, and it affected other people's appetite. Dong Huang Li's words made everyone feel uncomfortable. Chapter 204. My child was actually chased out of the restaurant by a puny human. When Yihua heard this news, his expression darkened. Seeing that Yihua's expression wasn't good, Dong Huang Li pulled onto her collar and said, Uncle, don't be angry. Yihua said gravely, Ali, be good, Uncle will teach you one thing today. Dong Huang Li pursed her lips, then nodded her head and said, Ali will definitely study hard. Qinya still didn't know about Yihua's theory and said hurriedly, Yihua, don't teach the child bad things. Yihua didn't pay attention to Dong Huangli and walked towards King Song Residence's hot pot restaurant. Yi Zizi and the green and red brothers followed closely behind. Big sister, let's go. Qin Yutong shouted lightly. Qinya sighed lightly, then followed behind Yihua. When they arrived at King Song Residence's hot pot restaurant, Yihua paused for a moment. I feel that something is wrong. Before they even entered the restaurant, they could already hear the customers scolding. What's wrong with your restaurant? Why did the taste of the soup change? That's right. What kind of bullshit taste is this? Ask your boss to come out. F***K, you are using this kind of thing to fool people. The restaurant is bullying the customers. Yihua knew what was wrong, the number of customers was decreasing. In the past, there would be a queue outside the restaurant at noon. However, today, there was no such situation, and there was actually a customer who said that the soup did not taste good. Big brother, when we came yesterday, there was a long queue outside the restaurant. Why is there no one here today? Little brother Red said confusedly as he looked around. Big brother Green raised his hand and slapped, Idiot, don't you know that people in the city like to hire actors? At this moment, a man who was wearing a suit hurriedly walked down the stairs and arrived in front of those customers who were clamoring, Everyone, what's the matter? What matter? Have a taste, is this even something that humans eat? The man said embarrassedly, I am really sorry, I just took over this restaurant today. If the taste is not good, I will immediately ask the chef to change it. Treat today's meal as my treat, free of charge. F***K, who cares? Those customers said in disdain, then picked up the food and left, leaving the restaurant in an instant. The man sighed and shook his head. Big brother Green said gravely, the one who worked yesterday was a little fat. Big brother, didn't you notice that everyone in this shop has changed? Little brother Red sized up the shop for a bit, and all of the waitresses that he saw yesterday have changed. The two of them looked at each other. Ignoring the surprised look of the boss, they rushed into the kitchen and came out after a while. F***CK, even the chef has been changed. Little brother Red found it hard to believe. Those chefs yesterday were all fat, and today, they were all skinny. Could it be that they lost 100 kilograms in a single night? The boss walked to the front of Yihua and said with a smile, Everyone, what do you want to eat? After finished speaking, the boss felt a bit embarrassed. Is it him? Yihua asked gravely. Dong Huangli shook her head, Uncle, he is not that bad uncle. Yihua asked coldly, where is the original boss? The boss sat on the stool weakly. Sigh, this is really a big loss. I am asking about your original boss. Yihua shouted out lightly. Dong Huangli hurriedly said, Uncle, don't be angry, being angry will harm your body. Yihua patted onto Dong Huangli's back, Uncle, don't be angry. Uncle, you're such a good boy, the boss stood up and sighed. How would I know where he went? I only took over last night. He promised to give me the correct recipe. I tried it back then, and it tasted the same. But when we opened for business at noon today, the taste changed. He left one table after another. I'm so angry. Big brother Green walked to the front of Yihua and said in a low voice, Boss, all of the employees here have been changed. The hot pot restaurant's boss said angrily, Liar. I am going to call the police. Yihua took a deep breath and walked out of the hot pot restaurant. Looking at the small alley that was on the opposite side of the road, if I stand on the third floor of the hot pot restaurant, I should be able to see my room on the second floor of Leisure Bar. Looking around, other than this restaurant that opened a restaurant, the other restaurants were all selling clothes. Yihua. Qinya called out tenderly. Yi Zizi changed from her usual mischievous attitude and said solemnly, Big brother, we are being monitored. Qinya looked at Yi Zizi in shock. Why do I feel that Yi Zizi is even more mature than me? When the green and red brothers heard what Yi Zizi said, they almost peed in their pants. What does that mean? Being monitored? I am a wanted criminal. Could it be that they are also wanted criminals? F***K. Did I just barge into a bandit's den? Ollie, let's go and eat at McDonald's, okay? Yihua didn't say anything and said to Dong Huangli, who was in his embrace. Dong Huangli nodded her head. As expected, no matter where I go, I will be harming people. Everyone arrived at McDonald's, and Yizizi returned back to her abnormal state, causing Qinya to feel dizzy. The green and red brothers were finally able to enjoy the taste of fried chicken drumsticks. Although Yihua was teasing Dong Huangli, he was already contacting Wei Chang. Your Honor. Wei Chang, do you still remember when that King's Song Mansion's hot pot restaurant was opened? It should have been opened not long after Your Honor opened Leisure Bar. It should be around 2 months later. Your Honor is asking about this. Is there anything that I can help you with? We have been monitored for a very long time. Ah. Wei Chang cried out in surprise. Wei Chang said gravely, Your Honor, leave this matter to subordinate to handle. No need, I, the Supreme Overlord, like this kind of surprise. If everything is just a routine, then it would be meaningless. I would like to see what kind of surprise the other party can give me. Subordinate is thinking too much. After cutting off the contact with Wei Chang, Yihua thought to himself. Seems like I have finally met a decent opponent. Since 4 years ago, the people that I have been monitoring are all humans. Not bad. Unique way of thinking. If not for Ali's appearance, they would have continued monitoring us. Suddenly, Yihua thought of a possibility. Why did they suddenly retreat? Could it be that they know about my relationship with Ali? They know that I am coming over to take revenge? That's why they retreated overnight? Cunning humans, this time, I will use my brain to play with you all and make you all sincerely convinced. Also, these 2 green and red fur brothers have pretty good vigilance. Since they are able to protect Ali during the journey, I will let them continue to protect Ali's safety. After all, it is indeed not good for my child to not have a few bodyguards by his side. But, their attire, Qinya, give them some money and buy some clothes. Yihua said lightly. If others were to find out that they are my subordinates, wouldn't they laugh at me for not having money? Qinya nodded her head. The clothes that they are wearing are indeed a bit. At this moment, Big Brother Green wiped his mouth and said nervously, Boss, I have something that I want to talk to you about. Yihua drank a mouthful of Sprite, then said faintly, Speak. Big Brother Green said hurriedly, Yesterday, us 2 brothers brought Ali along to look for you all. We went to a bar, and that bar owner actually wanted to capture Ali. I reckon that the bar owner seems to be a human trafficker. Luckily, we managed to run away, and the bar owner even sent people to chase after us. That's right, that woman is a bad person, and there was even a man with her. Little Brother Red added. Dong Huangli placed down the bone in her hand and said, If it wasn't for Uncle Green and Uncle Red, Ali would have been captured and sold away yesterday. Chapter 205. She wasn't by her child's side, and such things happened one after another. Do you really think that I don't have a temper? Yihua said gravely, I will head over there later. Qinya was filled with worry. She was afraid that Yihua would do something extreme. Qin Yutong and Yizizi were very excited. We are able to see brother-in-law act cool again. As long as brother-in-law acts, it will definitely be extremely awesome. The green and red brothers were actually very worried. Were they really going to go together? Looking at them, he was afraid that only he and his little brother had the ability to fight. It seemed that there would be a fight. Meanwhile, Dong Huangli's heart felt warm. This kind of warmth is something that I have never felt before. I like Uncle more and more, I like him more and more, I like him even more than my mother. It had to be said that this was the advantage of having a bloodline. Even if they hadn't met for a long time, as long as they were close to each other, that warmth would appear. Even though they hadn't acknowledged each other yet, it was still better than acknowledging each other. Lead the way. Yihua said coldly while carrying on to Dong Huangli. Big Brother Green felt a bit awkward and said in a low voice, Boss, This is also my first time coming to a big city. I am not familiar with the road, but I know that the bar is called Baidu Bar. Navigation. Yihua said gravely. Why do I have to take in two idiots, to think that I have to teach them everything? Little Brother Red immediately took out his phone and led the way with Big Brother Green. This kind of combination caused the passers-by to exclaim endlessly. There was a child, there was a beauty, there was a little lowly, and there was even a non-mainstream. Could this be the most popular Heavenly King combination this year? Only a puppy would be able to become famous if they made a debut, but if they lied, they would become famous. Not long after, the group arrived at the entrance of the Baidu Bar. It was only 2 in the afternoon, and the door was closed. However, there were 2 men smoking at the entrance. Boss, it's the one in the jacket. He took us in yesterday. Big Brother Green hurriedly stepped forward and said. With the support of the boss, there was nothing to be afraid of. However, he still had to be prepared to protect little Ollie. It would be troublesome to bring 3 women along. Although my Big Brother Green is extraordinary, punching the surrounding villages and kicking the various clans, he still can't withstand the enemy's human wave tactics. Big Brother, if we really fight later, you protect Ollie, and I'll protect the lady boss. Little Brother Red's expression was very serious, unprecedentedly serious, as if he was about to encounter the most difficult moment in his life. Big Brother Green sighed heavily. All right, if I, Big Brother, unfortunately die today, remember to take good care of my mother. Don't worry, Big Brother. If I die today, please take good care of my old man. The Green and Red brothers held each other's hands tightly. We'll still be good brothers in the afterlife. Good brother. Uncle Green, Uncle Red, what are you guys doing? Hurry up and come in. The Green and Red brothers turned their heads to look. How did they all enter? What about the 2 men? Just as he adjusted his mood, his aura swelled to an unprecedented level. They actually all entered. Big Brother. It must be those 2 who threatened the boss. Quick. Rush in and save them. All right. The Green and Red brothers squeezed out their killing intent and charged into the bar. A minute later, the Green and Red brothers stood behind everyone with flushed faces. They wished they could crawl into a crack in the wall. This was too embarrassing. Qinya and Qin Yutong covered their mouths and laughed lightly, and Dong Huangli, who was in Yihua's embrace, laughed to the point that she was lying down. A trace of a smile appeared on Yihua's face. Yi Zizi shook her head helplessly. Are you guys here to be funny? The Green and Red brothers expressed that we are here to be funny. Although it was funny, the Green and Red brothers were also shocked by the scene in front of them. Those 2 men were actually floating in the air, and it seemed like their hands were tied behind their back. Moreover, their faces were filled with pain. Are you sure that this isn't a magic show? Call your boss out. Yihua said faintly. The one who made a move was naturally not Yihua, but Yi Zizi. These ants weren't worth Yihua making a move. The 2 young men who were tied up in the air felt very uncomfortable, and it seemed like they didn't even have the strength to speak. Qinya slowly turned her face away. She couldn't bear to look at this scene. Uncle sure is formidable, but since they are tied up, they don't seem to be able to call out for help, right? Dong Huangli said naively. Yi Zizi placed one of the men down, and as expected, that man hurriedly called for help. Isn't it just a special ability? Let me tell you guys. Our boss is acquainted with special ability users. You guys are dead for sure. Yi Zizi's hand moved, and the man who was clamoring just a moment ago was hung up again. Yihua, it is enough to just teach them a lesson, don't kill them. Qinya said in a low voice. She couldn't bear to do such a thing. Yihua said faintly, Qinya, today, not only do we have to teach Ollie a lesson, you are also the same. Being soft-hearted will only harm others. Qinya wrinkled her brows and didn't argue with Yihua. After all, they were outside. Qinya, if it wasn't for those 2 brothers, do you think that Ollie would still be here right now? Right now, we don't even know where he was sold to. If you pity them, who will pity Ollie? Hearing Yihua's reprimand, Qinya was unable to refute, because that was indeed the case. Uncle, don't bully Aunt Qing. It's all Ali's fault. Dong Huangli hurriedly persuaded Dong Huangli, Aunt Qing looks so wronged, how can Uncle bully Aunt Qing like this? Yihua stroked onto Dong Huangli's hair, Ali, showing mercy to your enemy is the same as being cruel to yourself. You can toy with your enemy, but you definitely cannot show mercy to them. Understand? Dong Huangli didn't understand what Dong Huangli said, but she still felt that Dong Huangli's words were amazing. Yihua was very gratified. My child is easy to teach right now, and Qingya, on the other hand, has to take it slow. I have to get rid of her bad habit. Big brother, what are you doing? Little brother Red actually saw his big brother taking notes. My God. Big brother Green said gravely, we must remember Boss' priceless advice. In the future, we will be following Boss around. We should also learn a bit. What is it called again? High-end, grand, and classy. That's right, that's it. Big brother Green lowered his head and wrote down. Little brother Red laughed, Big brother, I can just copy your homework when we go back. You recognize my Oracle Bone script? Big brother Green's notebook could be seen dancing like a group of dragons. It would be very hard for ordinary people to recognize it. Little brother Red laughed, Big brother, I have already copied your homework for so many years. I have already learned all of your Oracle Bone script. Amazing, I didn't expect that you would secretly learn Big brother's ultimate skill again. That's right, I often follow Big brother's lead and score 0, falling from the first place to the second from the bottom. Big brother Green asked curiously, then, who is the first from the bottom? Big brother, how would I dare to snatch the first place from you? Good brother, Big brother indeed didn't misjudge you. Little brother Red cried bitterly. Back then, his teacher stroked his head and said, you will definitely get into the top school. In actuality, it wasn't the top school, it was just farming. I was deceived. About half an hour later, a man and a woman could be seen walking into the bar with around 10 people. The man was precisely Kuan Chong and Qing Lian, and when they saw Dong Huangli who was in Yihua's embrace, they immediately knew the reason why they came. Chapter 206. Suddenly, Qing Lian recalled. Isn't this the owner of the leisure bar? Last year at leisure bar, I was lucky enough to meet him for a while. He was really handsome. Brother Kuan, he is the owner of that leisure bar. Qing Lian's expression was solemn. Back then, that leisure bar's business was booming, and many owners were jealous and wanted to cause trouble. In the end, all of them were finished. Either the customers went missing, or the shop was closed, and the customers went missing again. From then on, no one dared to provoke the Qing bar, because it was too mysterious. Of course, Kuan Chong had heard of this boss, but he never expected that the child he wanted to kidnap last night was his. This matter was more troublesome. Kuan Chong and the others were not surprised at the sight of the two subordinates hovering in the air. Instead, they smiled and walked forward. Esteemed guests have arrived. Apologies for not coming out to greet you. Yihua didn't pay attention to Dong Huangli, who was in his bosom, and asked, Is it them? Dong Huangli nodded her head, then buried her head into Yihua's clothes, seemingly very scared. Ali, don't be afraid when you run into trouble, you have to face it bravely. Yihua taught Ali attentively. It isn't good for me to develop such a habit when I am not by my child's side. She really didn't know how her mother raised her. It was very normal for Dong Huangli to have this kind of behavior. After all, she was still a child, and with her parents around, it was only natural for her to act a bit more weak and gentle. Uncle, Li understands. Dong Huangli was still very obedient, and no longer tried to hide from Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli looked at the man and woman in front of her. Qing Lian smiled and said apologetically, Boss, I'm really sorry. We didn't know that she was your child. Yihua slowly raised his head and said with a cold tone, If I fall into your hands? What will happen to Li? Kuan Chong and Qing Lian's expressions changed slightly. It seemed that today's matter wouldn't end so easily. Boss, look at what you're saying. I'm definitely going to watch carefully. Kuan Chong was trying to curry favor with him. After all, this man in front of him was very mysterious. This time, Yihua didn't ask Dong Huangli. Instead, he asked Qinya, how do you think we should deal with them? Qinya, who was standing at the back, paused for a moment, then said, Yihua, call the police. What if it was our child? Will you still choose to call the police? Yihua asked gravely. Qinya's heart paused. If it is my own child, then there would only be one result for them. Seeing that Qinya did not reply, Yihua had an answer in his heart. After all, she is not my biological daughter. Li, how do you think uncle should handle this matter? Yihua asked curiously. Dong Huangli was a bit at a loss, because she had never encountered something like this before. Dong Huangli said with a childish voice, Ali doesn't know. Kuan Chong's and Qing Lian's smiles stiffened. Was the boss planning to fall out with them? Kuan Chong and Qing Lian had overestimated themselves. At most, they were just tools to educate their wives and children. Boss, I don't think that's a good idea. Kuan Chong squeezed out a smile. He could no longer hide his anger. Qing Lian stopped smiling and said coldly, Boss, we can compensate you, but you can't humiliate us like this. Yihua still didn't pay attention to him and continued to teach the child. Ali, think about it, if it wasn't for the green and red brothers last night and you were caught by them, what kind of consequences would you have had? Could it be that Ali doesn't hate them? Yihua asked lightly. Dong Huangli slightly frowned, then said in a low voice, Ali hates them. They don't just want to kidnap Ali alone, there are also many children that are Ali's age that were sold by them, and their whereabouts are unknown. Ali, do you think that people like Ali can still live in this world? Although Yihua didn't have a child, he had raised Yizizi before. Furthermore, Yizizi was one of the big shots of the 7 sins. Thus, teaching Yizizi this way was very easy. Alright, this is purely teaching Yizizi. Can't. Sure enough, Ali's answer was very straightforward. Qinya, who was at the side, couldn't bear to watch anymore and snatched Dong Huangli over. Yihua, Ali is still so young, how can you teach her this? The goal of today's education had already been achieved. Yihua wanted to hear the child's final answer. As expected of the bloodline of the Supreme Overlord, she was born with a bloodthirsty bloodline. As for Qinya, I still have to take it slow. Boss, you are going too far. Qing Lian shouted out, then actually took out a lady's pistol. The green and red brothers who were at the back immediately turned pale with fright, then squatted down while holding on to their heads. The people in the city are too scary, they would take out guns for no reason, unlike us in the countryside. At most, we can only use water pipes to fight, we are not allowed to use knives. While everyone was being pointed at by the gun, Qinya tightly held on to Dong Huangli, and her gaze flickered with a cold glint. Qinya, they want to kill us, do you still insist on calling the police? Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up, then sat down. Qinya let out a sigh, up to you. The corner of Yihua's mouth arced upwards. Seems like I didn't come here for nothing today. I have to look for more textbooks like this in the future and bring them along to learn from them. Just look at my sister-in-law, they will become much more sensible. Qing Lian's gaze turned cold, and she who had a heart like a snake continuously pulled the trigger. Bang, bang, bang. A series of gunshots rang out, and golden bullets flew towards Yihua and the others. Suddenly, a few sparks flickered in the sky, and soon after, golden bullets could be seen falling onto the ground. Yizizi stretched out her small hand and yawned, and a strand of her hair quietly retracted back into her body. Qing Lian tightly wrinkled her brows. As expected, a pistol is useless against them. The green and red brothers were simply scared to the point of peeing in their pants. This is just like a gunfight in a Hong Kong movie, so scary. Are the two of you still not going to call for help? Yihua said lightly. What's the point of killing 2 small fries? The ones behind them are the ones that are interesting. Kuan Chong knew that the other party wouldn't let this matter go easily, but he still said, Boss, if I were to let this matter go, you too can leave. However, if I were to make this phone call, the consequences would be very serious, and even I am afraid of the consequences. Yi Zizi suddenly laughed out. This human is so funny. However, why aren't his honor and the others laughing? I am the only one laughing, I seem so stupid. Yi Zizi immediately stopped laughing. Call. Yi Hua wanted to see who the other party is. This bragging is about to reach the heavens. Even I, the Supreme Overlord, have never acted like this. The way I handle things is as low profile as always, and I have never killed humans indiscriminately, and I am also not like how I was in the past when I would exterminate a family for no reason. Kuan Chong immediately made the phone call. However, in Yi Hua's eyes, their lives were already starting to count down. I have already given you two a chance. If you two don't want it, then don't blame me for it. Kuan Chong laughed. Qing Lian leaned onto Kuan Chong's shoulder with one of her hands. Brother Kuan, from what I see, this boss is only a so-so. From the looks of it, rumors are just rumors, we have to see it for ourselves. Kuan Chong stretched out his hand and slapped onto Qing Lian's plump and perky butt. You are still acting so wanton in front of so many people. Brother Kuan, don't you like this kind of thing? Qing Ye immediately covered Dong Huang Li's eyes. Children shouldn't be able to see, and they shouldn't be able to hear. Little brother Red, who was at the back, stretched out his hand and covered his big brother's line of sight. Big brother, if you look too much, you will be executed later on. Then why are you still looking at it? I will tell you after I finish looking at it. Little brother Red looked at the phone with great interest. Big brother Green stretched out his hand and slapped onto his own head. How are you going to tell me such a scene? Don't worry, I described it very well. Back then, I even prepared to write a novel, and I even wrote a few chapters and uploaded them. The results were not bad, but in the end, my novel was banned. Big brother Green said in a low voice, actually, back then, I read the novel, and the writing was indeed not bad. Every time, I would have to take off my pants, really? I remember that you were also present at that time. Chapter 207. 10 minutes later, a roar rang out on the street outside of Baidu Bar. Just by listening to the roar, one could tell that it was a supercar with at least 10 cylinders. As expected. A mad cow drove over from the distance. The low body of the car and the smooth lines of the car made the men on the street reveal out passionate gazes, while the girls wanted to see who was driving the car and expressed that they wanted to get on the car to enjoy the air conditioner. The two Lamborghini could be seen stopping at the entrance of Baidu Bar. The scissor door opened from both sides, and two young men walked out of the car. The person who was driving the car wore sunglasses and had an imposing appearance, causing the girls to be infatuated with him. And the co-driver had a respectful expression, looking like a lackey. Young master, the old master is still waiting for you to return home. The attendant's name was Chang Sheng, and he looked rather handsome. Ding Yuanwu twisted his neck. I will return home after I teach a lesson to some blind people. Ding Yuanwu was the son of Ding family. Although he was the youngest in the family, he was indeed the son of the family head Ding Yuan's most beloved woman, causing Ding Yuanwu to be spoiled since he was young. In the secular world, he was a famous playboy, and hunting women was his biggest hobby. This bar was also opened by Ding Yuanwu, and he would come here to hunt women whenever he had nothing to do. This time, when he was preparing to return home to report, his lackey just happened to call him and said that someone was causing trouble in the bar, so he came over to take a look. As the son of Ding family, how could he swallow this anger? It would have been fine if he didn't know, but now that he knew, he definitely had to vent his anger. Bringing along his attendant, Ding Yuanwu walked into the bar. Changsheng helplessly followed behind, thinking to himself, young master can't go on like this. Those few big brothers are eyeing you covetously, they have long found you unpleasant. When Ding Yuanwu walked into the bar, he immediately took off his sunglasses and stared fixedly at Qingya, Qing Yutong, and Yi Zizi. If I were to take down these three, I will not be able to get off the bed for the rest of my life. Kuan Chong made a great contribution this time, I will be rewarded. Young master, it's them. Kuan Chong quickly walked to the front of Ding Yuanwu, not knowing that he only had 10 minutes left to live. Ding Yuanwu patted on Kuan Chong's shoulder. You did well. Thank you for your praise, young master. Ding Yuanwu walked past Kuan Chong and arrived not far away from Yi Hua. Ding Yuanwu took a look at the two people who were floating in the air and said, your strength is not bad, but you are still just a frog at the bottom of a well. Yi Hua said faintly, Yutong, bring Qingye and leave first, this is not suitable for children. Yes, brother-in-law. Just as Ding Yuanwu wanted to stop him, he realized that he couldn't move his body at all. He looked a little panicked. Big Brother Green and Little Brother Red followed behind them and prepared to leave. The city was too scary. You two stay behind. Yi Hua said faintly. Big Brother Green and Little Brother Red's hearts sunk as they walked back to where they came from. Seeing that Qingye and Qin Yutong had left, Yi Hua slowly stood up, then said coldly towards Ding Yuanwu, is there anyone else behind you? Who are you? Attendant Chongqing shouted. He actually dared to disrespect the young master, courting death. Yi Hua didn't reply. Conversing with these ants is already beneath my status, and today, I am also seeking justice for my child. Chongqing's face darkened, and his body disappeared instantly. His speed was even faster than Long Outyan's, and it was shocking. In the blink of an eye, he appeared behind Yi Hua, and the dagger in his hand ruthlessly pierced towards Yi Hua's temple. Ding Yuanwu, who was being controlled, sneered. You guys know nothing about my attendant. However, a second later, Ding Yuanwu went into a daze and shouted out hurriedly, Chongqing, what are you standing there for? Go and stab him. Chongqing stood behind Yi Hua, and the dagger was only a centimeter away from Yi Hua's temple. Seems like you don't have any backup, Zizi, I will reward you. Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette and walked towards the outside. Yi Zizi grinned, thank you, big cousin. After Yi Hua left, Chongqing was exposed to everyone's vision. A strand of hair could be seen passing through the back of his head from his forehead. His entire body was trembling weakly, and his eyes were rolling upwards, as if his head was being sucked by something. The Green and Red brothers hugged each other tightly. Why does this scene look like an alien? Looking at Chongqing's appearance, everyone took in a breath of cold air, especially Ding Yuanwu. He looked as if he had seen a ghost. My attendant is one of the top-ranked attendants in the family, and he was actually killed in an instant. How is this possible? Just who is that little lowly? I am the son of Ding family. If you dare to kill me, just wait to be hunted down by Ding family. Ding Yuanwu's gaze was fierce. These people are too arrogant. If I let them know of my identity, they will definitely kneel down and beg for mercy. Yi Zizi licked her scarlet lips and slowly walked out, while Chongqing was hanging behind her. Chongqing's entire body began to tremble violently, and his skin was quickly fading away. Big brother, you are the son of Ding family. When I have time, I will tell your family. Don't worry, very soon, there will be no more pain. Yi Zizi's lowly voice was especially alluring, but this kind of scene was like the demonic voice from hell, shaking the hearts of everyone. The two ponytails fluttered slowly, and countless strands of hair darted out like poisonous snakes. Ghost! Save me! Kuan Chong and Qing Lian couldn't care about their image anymore and immediately ran outside. Their desire to survive was very strong, but unfortunately, the one they were facing was Yi Zizi. From a certain perspective, Yi Zizi's strength was even stronger than Yi Hua's. Strands of hair mercilessly pierced through the back of everyone's head, and fresh blood dyed the hair red. The blood was transmitted into Yi Zizi's brain, and that pair of scarlet eyes became even more bright and beautiful. I am the son of Ding family. My father will not let you all off. He will kill all of you. Ding Yuanwu, who was hanging in the air, actually didn't say much from the start to the end. The sentence that he said the most was, I am the son of Ding family. Yi Zizi patted her small mouth and yawned, then said sweetly, I have seen a lot of people like you. After your father comes, your lines will definitely not change, and after that, your grandfather will come. If your great-grandfather didn't die, then your great-grandfather will definitely change his lines. For example, even if my Ding family becomes a ghost, I will not let you all off. Yi Zizi imitated Ding Yuanwu's tone and revealed a scared look. Ding Yuanwu felt that his everything was being sucked away, and he was scared. I am still young, I don't want to die. However, before Ding Yuanwu could beg for mercy, Yi Zizi said pitifully, don't kill me, I have money, I have a lot of things, I will give them all to you. Soon after, Yi Zizi smiled sweetly, are you going to say that? Looking at your expression, I know that I guessed correctly. You. Alright, I have had enough fun and eaten my fill, I still need to go back and play games, bye-bye. At this moment, everyone instantly turned into dried corpses and fell heavily onto the ground. Yi Zizi pouted her mouth, your honor's action was so cool, Zizi wants to learn it too. Yi Zizi could be seen stretching out her right hand. Bang, the sound of a finger snap was indeed worthy of its name. At this moment, all of the corpses turned into dust, and even the interior of the bar was the same as well. Yi Zizi let out a breath, that was so dangerous, fortunately, I managed to control it. Hey, when are the two of you going to stop hugging each other? Let's go. Yi Zizi shouted out towards the red and green brothers, then hopped out of the bar. The green and red brothers took a look at each other, and feeling that their posture was a bit ambiguous, they immediately let go of each other. Big brother. I have decided. Little brother. I have decided. Chapter 208. Everyone returned back to Leisure Bar, and Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi began a new round of game. Dong Huangli had long fallen asleep in Yihua's embrace. She is just a child, after all, after eating and drinking to her heart's content, she would still need to sleep. As for the green and red brothers, they were temporarily acting as the security of Leisure Bar. However, right now, the green and red brothers were a little excited. Within the bedroom, Yihua placed Dong Huangli onto his bed, then lightly covered her with a blanket. How can this little guy be so adorable? Qinya sat on the sofa at the side and looked at her husband's gentle movements. I bought a doll and hugged it to sleep, and he even said that other than me, no other things can appear on the bed. This seems to be what he said before they went to Sanya. And now, Li was added into the mix. Although I don't suggest it, Yihua's strange actions made me very worried. Yihua, come over here, I have something to talk to you about. Qinya couldn't bear it anymore, I have to get to the bottom of this matter. Yihua shushed Qinya, then signaled Qinya to lower her voice and not disturb the child's sleep. Slowly getting up, Yihua walked over to Qinya's side. Stretching out his hand, Yihua hugged onto Qinya's slender waist and directly kissed onto Qinya's waist. It has been a few hours since I last kissed her, I really miss her. However, this time, Yihua didn't succeed and kissed Qinya's palm. What's wrong? Yihua asked puzzledly. Pouting her lips, Qinya said softly, after you came back today, you have been very abnormal. Yihua was startled. Was my behavior that obvious? How is it abnormal? A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth, and his hand quietly slipped into Qinya's clothes. Qinya grabbed onto the hand that was doing evil. Stop messing around. I'm being serious here. Be serious. Yihua let out a light sigh. Alright, what do you want to ask? Are you hiding something from me? Qinya stared fixedly at Yihua, not having the intention to joke around. Yihua was also looking at Qinya. Should I tell her right now? Or should he wait for a period of time and let her get along with Ali? How could that be? Yihua said, then pulled Qinya into his embrace. Qinya did not struggle as she hugged onto Yihua and said in a low voice, Yihua, I like you, but don't lie to me, okay? Yihua's heart thumped. If Ali's mother had a brain, she would definitely come looking for him. It was only a matter of time before the two of them met. Only God knew what kind of situation it would cause. He did like surprises, but he didn't like this kind of surprise. But he had already said it. How could he deny it? Slapping my own face, now, he could only brace himself and go forward. Yes. When the first lie was told, there would be even more lies to cover up that lie, and in the end, everything would be a lie. This was the human nature that Yihua had experienced. Qinya suddenly hugged onto Yihua, pushed him onto the sofa, and kissed him ferociously. I, the Supreme Overlord, am becoming more and more fond of this woman. In order to prevent her from feeling sad, I actually lied to her. Uncle, Auntie, are you thirsty? Ali will get you some water. Unknowingly, Dong Huangli was already standing beside the two of them, and her eyes were wide open. The uncle and the auntie were actually sucking on each other as if they were very hungry. Moreover, the uncle's hands were under the auntie's clothes. The auntie must be feeling a little itchy and the uncle was helping her to stop the itch. The two of them turned their heads around and looked towards Dong Huangli, then immediately separated from each other. In front of a child, it was best to pay attention to one's image. Ali, why aren't you sleeping anymore? Qinya's mood was very good as she asked while hugging onto Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli rubbed her big eyes and yawned. Ali woke up when I heard the smacking sounds. Smacking sounds? Qinya pinched onto Yihua petulantly. It's all your fault. Women are just so unreasonable. You are obviously the one who pushed me down and touched me all over my body. Ali, what does Ali want to eat tonight? Qinya immediately changed the topic. When a child hears about food, they would be more excited than anything else. I don't know, Qinya said. Ali, do you want to eat crayfish? Crayfish are very delicious. Really? Of course, Uncle likes to eat crayfish too, whatever Uncle likes. Ali likes to eat too. Dong Huangli's smile was about to blossom. Although this place is much smaller than my mother's place, everyone here is very concerned about me. Yihua immediately stood up. All right. Let's eat crayfish tonight. Ali likes crayfish. Qinya laughed helplessly. I feel that my suggestion just now was just asking for trouble. At Voidless Realm that was a few thousand miles away. Dong Huangbaiji was sitting on the throne in the palace, and 8 elders were standing respectfully below her. How many days has it been? Where is he? Dong Huangbaiji shouted out coldly, and an austere aura immediately erupted out. Xinghan took a step forward. Your Majesty, His Highness has the protection of the Dong Huang family, he will definitely be fine. Your Majesty, please calm down. The search area is gradually expanding, and we will definitely be able to find His Highness and bring him back safely. Yuan De no longer dared to recklessly give the Empress any ideas. The warning that he gave the Empress last time was very clear. Dong Huangbaiji's heart was burning with anxiety. These few days, she couldn't sleep at all. Whenever she closed her eyes, she would be able to hear Ali's laughter. I will give you all 3 more days, if you all still can't find him. You all can do as you see fit. Your Majesty. Subordinate still has one more thing to report. He Xian walked out and said gravely. Dong Huangbaiji waved her hand impatiently. Speak. Ing family sent over a message. They want us to give them an explanation, otherwise, Dong Huangbaiji's beautiful eyes turned cold, or else what? Otherwise, I will not rest until I die. All right. Let's see how the Ying family will fight to the death. The ominous glint in Dong Huangbaiji's eyes became more and more intense. Her face was filled with frost, and a terrifying aura swept out from her. Yes. The 8 elders knelt and obeyed. Dong Huangbaiji disappeared from the throne and arrived at Dong Huangli's courtyard. Right now, Ali's joyful voice could no longer be heard from Dong Huangbaiji's courtyard, and Dong Huangbaiji couldn't even see Ali happily running out from the courtyard, hugging onto Dong Huangbaiji and acting coquettishly towards Dong Huangbaiji. Sitting in the courtyard's pavilion, Dong Huangbaiji was quietly pondering. The people outside are all sinister, and Ali is still so young. Although Ali had learned some defensive techniques, he would still be in danger. If I get caught and sold by the human traffickers, wouldn't that mean? Thinking up to here, Dong Huangbaiji was filled with regret. Dong Huangbaiji clenched her fists tightly. If Ali had suffered any grievances outside, I will definitely exterminate his entire family. Dong Wang Baiji also knew that it would be very difficult to find Ali. After all, the world was so big, and finding a person was like finding a needle in a haystack. It was all his fault. If she hadn't heard the news about him, she wouldn't have been so abnormal. It's fine if he injured me, but now, even my child is missing. This bastard, this bastard. Dong Wang Baiji fiercely smashed onto the stone table, and the entire stone table turned into dust. Dong Wang Baiji had treated the stone table as Yihua, and she really wanted to smack the stone table to death. Suddenly, Qing Yutong and Yizizi secretly laughed. Can the two of you stop joking around? We are still eating. I am me, others are others. Ali, do you know? Yihua didn't care so much. How could my daughter possibly serve other people? Dong Wangli nodded her head in a daze. Li understands. You're teaching bad things to children. Aunt Qing, I feel that what Uncle Yi said is reasonable. Dong Wangli said sincerely. Dong Wangli had a very mature look on her face, causing everyone to burst into laughter. Yi Zizi felt helpless. In the past, she was the one who made everyone happy. Now that it was Ali, she could finally relax. Dong Wangli could be seen holding onto a large cup of cola and taking a sip. Burp! Everyone burst into laughter once again. Ali's cuteness was already unstoppable. And when little Ali saw that everyone was so happy, she was also very happy. Little Ali didn't know that her mother had already appeared at the entrance of the alley. When Dong Wang Baiji appeared on the street, she immediately attracted everyone's attention. This woman was wearing a white long skirt, her eyes were like autumn water, her eyebrows were like light moons, and her appearance was like a painting. However, that arrogant expression of hers was like an unreachable empress, causing people to be afraid of her and not dare to have any fantasies about her. No matter if it was a man or a woman, old or young, everyone was staring at Dong Wang Baiji, who was standing still. Bang! A rear-end collision occurred on the street. The two drivers immediately opened the door and got off the car. They did not quarrel with each other. Instead, they looked at the woman who was wearing a white robe. She seemed to be sad. Seemed to be confused. Seemed to be afraid. Seemed to be angry. That was indeed the case. Dong Wang Baiji's mood was very complicated. It has already been 3 years. This city has changed a lot, but this alley is still the same as 3 years ago. Back then, when I was pregnant with Ali, I went in and out of this alley for half a month, yet, he did not appear at all. The irony is that he actually got married and had a child. This is equivalent to slapping my face in front of everyone. Today, I must get justice for myself, and I must also get someone to speak up for me. Stepping into the alley, there was not the slightest bit of change. Every single brick and every single piece of wood was so familiar, as if I had just come here yesterday. Dong Wang Baiji stretched out her slender fingers and touched onto the wall. Feeling the roughness of the wall, she raised her head and looked towards the familiar second floor. 3 years ago, I had also raised my head countless times from this position, hoping to see him calling out to me. However, it was all my own delusion. And right now, there was not the slightest bit of change on the second floor. It was the same as before, the lights were still on. Boom! Boom! Thunder roared in the sky. As if feeling the resentment in Dong Wang Baiji's heart, the rainstorm instantly poured down. Dong Wang Baiji slowly walked towards Leisure Bar. Every single step she took was very difficult for her, because she was facing the truth that she did not dare to face in the past. The violent rainwater split apart above Dong Wang Baiji's head and was blocked by an invisible force. Walking to the entrance of Leisure Bar, Dong Wang Baiji slowly turned around and raised her head to look at the signboard. This kind of feeling was as if she had returned to that day, returned to those few days and nights. Today, I will put an end to this resentment. Yi Hua. Today, you must give me an explanation. Pushing open the heavy wooden door, Dong Wang Baiji walked into the bar. The inside of the bar was still the same as before, just that there were a few more paintings. Compared to the past, the business of the bar was a lot more bleak. Dong Huang Baiji sat on the same position as before. She did not order any drinks and just waited quietly. Yi Hua. If you have the guts, then don't come down today. He is still as heartless as before. The red and green brothers who were on duty also saw Dong Huang Baiji. I have no choice but to look. There is only a single customer in the entire bar. This is too miserable. Big brother, this woman is as beautiful as the lady boss. Little brother Red said in a low voice. Big brother Green nodded his head. Although she is as beautiful as the lady boss, her temperament is too arrogant. I still feel that the lady boss is better. She is gentle. Little brother Red let out a sigh. Big brother, do you think that this beauty is here to look for the boss? Because even though I am so far away from her, I can still feel her resentment. Big brother Green wrinkled his brows and observed for a while. If she is really here to look for the boss, then the boss is finished. What are you two talking about? What boss is finished? Wei Chang came out from the back of the bar after changing his clothes. Big brother Green pointed at Dong Huang Baiji. There is a woman here, the very beautiful kind. Chapter 210. The green and red brothers looked at each other in disbelief. Could it be that they were really here to look for the boss? Oh my God, the boss was too amazing. He already had such a beautiful lady boss, and now he had another one. Moreover, it was the super arrogant version of the lady boss. Amazing. Just watch. Don't act rashly. Wei Chang said solemnly. It seemed that this was the truth. Ali was the child of this woman. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come here. But this was too fast. Ali had just arrived in the morning, and it was only nightfall when her mother came to find her. Dong Huang Baiji had already been looking for her daughter for more than 10 days. Furthermore, the reason why she came here was not only to look for her daughter, but also to settle old scores with Yi Hua. Right now, Wei Chang was just like an ant on a hot pot. If the madam were to know about this matter, she would definitely fall out with his honor again. His honor's temper isn't that good. When the time comes, his honor won't be able to control himself. No. I still have to call Lai Gu over to suppress the situation. Don't let his honor go berserk, if not, everyone would be out of luck. Thinking of here, Wei Chang immediately contacted Lai Gu. Right now, Lai Gu was currently enjoying the delicacies made by his 3 wives. When he heard what Wei Chang said, the food in his mouth sprayed out and he immediately rushed over. What's going on? What's going on? Lai Gu secretly looked over. At this moment, the feeling of the scene was very strong. Forehead stretched out, arranged vertically. Looking at Dong Huang Baiji, Lai Gu swallowed his saliva. Back then, I was lying in my bedroom and saw his honor bringing Dong Huang Baiji into my room. I didn't expect that after 3 years, this woman had become more and more arrogant. His honor's eyesight is truly sinister. The women that he finds are all different from the masses. Retracting his head, Lai Gu asked nervously, "What should we do?" "How would I know what to do?" Wei Chang said in frustration. The two of them suddenly looked at the green and red brothers. The green and red brothers were startled. "Don't look at us like that, I don't even know them." At this time, Tang Wei also changed her clothes and walked over. She asked curiously, "What happened to you guys? What are you all standing here for?" "Xiao Tang, you can go back first today." Wei Chang decided to coax Tang Wei back. Who knows what will happen if his honor gets angry. Tang Wei was very puzzled, but when she saw Uncle Wei and Lai Gu's sunken face, she knew that something bad must have happened. "All right, I'll go back first. Uncle Wei, if there's any situation, just give me a call, don't make me worry." Tang Wei was still very obedient. She knew that there were some things that she shouldn't participate in. Wei Chang nodded. Lai Gu's brows were tightly wrinkled, and after a while, he said, "Let's tie her up." "Are you crazy? She is Little Overlord's mother. We all have to call her madam now. Do you want to offend your superiors?" Wei Chang coldly shouted. Lai Gu scratched onto his hair and said gloomily, then, what do you think we should do? His honor is really something, why didn't he wear a condom? Gluttonous monster, you must remember to wear a condom. Wei Chang touched the condom in his pocket and sighed. He had always been prepared, but he never had the chance to use it. How about this, I'll go and probe first. Maybe it's not what we think. Wei Chang said in a low voice, even though he didn't believe his own words. Lai Gu nodded his head. This is the only way. Wei Chang tidied up his clothes, then walked straight towards Dong Huang Baiji. When Dong Huang Baiji saw Wei Chang walking over, there was not much expression on her face. It's still this man, madam, would you like something to drink? Wei Chang squeezed out a smile. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly, what? Pretending not to know me? Oh, so it's you. I'm getting old and my memory is getting worse. Although Wei Chang's performance was a little exaggerated, his words were exquisite and there were no loopholes. Dong Huang Baiji looked at Wei Chang and said, you're still the same. Yes, madam, you are becoming more and more beautiful. He remembered that 3 years ago, this security guard was not so talkative. It seemed that 3 years was enough to change a person. Seeing that Dong Huang Baiji did not speak anymore, Wei Chang asked with a smile, may I ask why you came here this time? Our goals are the same. It's over. Wei Chang's heart sunk. As expected, they are here to look for his honor. Dong Huang Baiji continued, you go and tell him. He could choose not to come down. But I will burn this bar down. Damn, this madam's temper is much better than Madame Qin Ya's, burning things for no reason at all. Did these chairs and tables offend you? Indeed, Dong Huang Baiji felt that everything here was an eyesore. Wei Chang walked back and shook his head towards Lai Gu. Lai Gu heaved a heavy sigh. Right now, the Green and Red brothers' brains were in a state of blank out. Your Honor. Madam. Little Sovereign. Ali's mother. The amount of information was too much. The woman outside was Ali's mother, and the boss was Ali's father, but Ali's father had another woman. Were they trying to catch a mistress? Second floor. Dong Huangli rubbed onto her round belly and said, Uncle, Li is so full. Yihua pinched onto his daughter's little nose and said with a smile, who asked Ali to eat so much? It's delicious. Dong Huangli was enjoying Yihua's caress very much. It was fortunate that Dong Huang Baiji didn't immediately rush over. If not, if she were to see how happy this family was, she would definitely run away even faster than Yihua. While I am worrying about all kinds of things in Voidless Realm, the two of you are eating and drinking to your heart's content and laughing happily here. Have you ever thought about the feelings of others? Fortunately, all of this didn't happen. Yihua could be considered to be quite lucky. Just when Yihua wanted to say something to Qinya, he received a message from Wei Chang in his mind, and his brows immediately wrinkled. Your Honor. Something big has happened. Wei Chang. What did I teach you? Don't panic in the face of danger. No matter how big the matter is, I am here. Your Honor. This was no ordinary matter. That woman came. After hearing that, Yihua went into a daze. This surprise came too quickly, right? What the fuck, I am panicking right now. She came. So fast. Yihua, what happened to you? Are you feeling unwell? Qinya asked with concern. Yihua was still fine just a moment ago, and yet, he suddenly changed. Yihua revealed out a smile that was even uglier than crying. I'm fine, I just recalled an unhappy matter. Uncle Yi, Ali will dance for you, then you will be happy. Qin Yutong laughed. Wow, Ali knows how to dance. I often dance for mother to see and make mother happy. After speaking, Dong Huangli walked to the side. The so-called dance that Dong Huangli was talking about was just twisting her small body. However, it was still quite decent, and everyone who saw it couldn't help but laugh. Just that, Yihua didn't have the slightest bit of mood right now. Originally, I wanted to let Qinya and Ali interact with each other for a period of time to nurture their relationship. Although I guessed that Ali might come, I didn't expect that she would come so quickly. Qinya, bring Ali to wash her face, there are oil stains on the corner of her mouth. Yihua said faintly. He decided to send Qinya away first, then go and meet Ali by himself. Qinya was completely unaware that a woman had come to look for her downstairs. With a smile on her face, she carried Ali. Ali, let's go and wash our face, huh? There are oil stains on Aunt Qing's mouth too. Poof, Qinya directly kissed Dong Huangli. Not to be outdone, Dong Huangli kissed onto Qinya's cheek, then laughed loudly. After the two left, Yihua stood up and said gravely, I'm going down to smoke a cigarette. Qin Yutong sensed that something was wrong with her brother-in-law. Meanwhile, Yihua gave Yizizi an order to stop Qinya from going downstairs. Chapter 211. Dong Wang Baiji closed her beautiful eyes and waited quietly. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps came from the staircase. Of course, he would not forget this voice. That night, he also came down like this and directly walked up to him to invite him. He was so drunk that he actually fell for this bastard's trick. But he came down. He really came down. Dong Huang Baiji suddenly became nervous. Just what is this damnable man trying to do? If you have the ability, then don't come down. Just as heartless as before. Yihua's gaze was deep as he stared at the back figure that was not far away from him. It was exactly the same as back then. Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up. Yihua wasn't in a hurry to meet with Qinya, and he was currently worried about Qinya. When did I become so timid? I'm almost not like myself anymore. In any case, I'm going to meet her sooner or later. Don't tell me that I'm going to hide this woman away. Since she has the fortune to be pregnant with my bloodline, I will reluctantly accept it. I will talk to Qinya about it when the time comes. Wei Chang and Lai Gu, as well as the Green and Red brothers, were hiding at the side and secretly watching. Wei Chang and Lai Gu were also feeling extremely nervous in their hearts. Who exactly is the mistress? While smoking, Yihua slowly walked forward, then sat down and looked at the woman in front of him. She had changed. Compared to 3 years ago, she had become even more mature and arrogant. Fortunately, she had changed into the type that his honor liked, or else it would be really hard for him to accept her. Dong Wang Baiji was also sizing up the man who she had not seen for 3 years. He did not change at all, there was not a single expression on his face, and when he looked at everyone, it was as if he was looking at an ant. Furthermore, he still loves to smoke. It was this man who wanted her for an entire night. She did not rest for an entire night. After she fainted, she was woken up by him again. It was an endless cycle. Even when she woke up in the morning, he did not care for her at all. He even said that he did not want to see her again. He did not even say his name. Yihua, I trust you have been well since we last met. Dong Huang Baiji said coldly. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. How do you know my name? Suddenly, he thought of the hot pot restaurant. Could it be that she was secretly spying on him? Thinking about it, there was really such a possibility. Ali appeared yesterday, and she arrived today. However, why did she want to change the shop assistant? It was an unnecessary move. Dong Huang Baiji snorted, in actuality, I don't want to know your name, just hearing it makes me uncomfortable. Look, how could such a woman not be trained? Even Qinya wasn't as arrogant as her back then. However, when he thought about how she was the child's mother and how she had been wandering outside for 3 years, even if she didn't make any contributions, she had worked hard. He didn't want to lecture her now. There would be opportunities in the future to change her. I also know the reason why you came here. Yihua said faintly. Dong Huang Baiji laughed lightly, and in an instant, she looked incredibly beautiful. Tell me, why did I come here? I also know that you have suffered. Since you are here, it means that you have not forgotten me. In that case, I will let bygones be bygones. From now on, be my woman. The mouths of the 4 people who were hiding at the back were shaped into an O shape. There's nothing wrong with what His Honor said, especially that last sentence. From now on, just be my woman. Too domineering. Too manly. Any woman would have to submit to these words. Wei Chang and Big Brother Green immediately took out a small notebook and wrote it down. It would definitely be useful in the future. Ha. Ha ha ha. Dong Wang Baiji laughed out loud, as if she had heard the funniest thing in the world. He is actually willing to let bygones be bygones. How dare you say this empress came for him? He even wants this empress to be his woman. I didn't expect that he is still so narcissistic, to think that he is the only man left in the world. But why didn't you say such words back then? Perhaps, our family of 3 wouldn't have been separated then. What are you laughing at? Yi Hua asked coldly. Dong Wang Baiji kept away her smile and said coldly, I'm laughing at your stupidity. Immediately, a fierce aura erupted out from Yi Hua's body. Don't think that you are my woman. You can talk back to me. There was a difference between Dong Wang Baiji and Qinya. Qinya was unable to resist, but Dong Wang Baiji was able to resist. A fierce aura erupted out from Dong Wang Baiji's body, and the 2 auras collided violently, causing all of the chairs in the surroundings to be blown away. Wei Chang felt his heart aching. When the time comes, I will have to clean up the place myself. Your woman? Yi Hua. Your tone is still as big as before. Dong Wang Baiji shouted out. At the same time, she was also very surprised at Yi Hua's strength. To actually be on par with me. Yi Hua was also rather surprised. This woman's strength is not bad, no wonder she is so rude and unreasonable. It's a pity that you don't know anything about my strength. You are still as arrogant as before. What are you 2 doing? A voice rang out from the staircase, causing Yi Hua's heart to sink. Meanwhile, Dong Wang Baiji turned her head around and took a look. As expected, this woman matches my taste. However, what I feel even more in my heart is unconvinced. Qinya had just heard some noises coming from downstairs, and while ignoring Yi Zizi's obstruction, she walked down the stairs. Qinya saw Yi Hua talking to a woman, and that woman turned her head around and took a look at me. Why is she unconvinced? Qinya was a little confused. However, this woman is indeed beautiful. This fellow wouldn't be doing that again, right? Bastard. When the 4 people who were hiding at the side saw Qinya coming down the stairs, they immediately held their breaths. Lai Gu was nervous to the point that he pinched onto Little Brother Red's ear, while Little Brother Red was in pain to the point that he grabbed onto Big Brother Green's thigh, and Big Brother Green was in pain to the point that he covered onto his mouth. Wei Chang looked at the situation in front of him and thought to himself, I'm finished, 2 madams colliding into each other, this is bad. Qinya took a glare at her husband. You are already a man with a wife, and yet, you are still fooling around in your own shop. Are you tired of living? Be careful that you don't get spanked when we go back. With a smile on her face, Qinya walked to the side and sat down, then said to Dong Wang Baiji, I'm sorry, he just likes to mess around, please don't mind him. Dong Wang Baiji looked towards Yi Hua, seemingly asking, she doesn't know of my existence? Right now, the situation was very clear. Dong Wang Baiji laughed. She was laughing at herself for being stupid. Then, she said to Qinya, have you been deceived by him before? Qinya was a little stupefied. She took a look at Yi Hua and saw that his expression wasn't very good. He is my husband, may I ask what's the matter? Qinya was still very polite. I feel that there is something wrong with the 2 of them, and it isn't like what I thought it to be. Dong Wang Baiji smiled and shook her head, you 2 got married? Yes. Qinya had already developed hostility. This woman is coming at me menacingly, I can't be afraid. Dong Wang Baiji asked herself, I am not inferior to her in any way, why did you give up on me and choose her? Let me guess how the 2 of you met. Enough. Yi Hua shouted out gravely. Qinya gradually became serious. There is a problem here, there is something wrong with Yi Hua's expression. Yi Hua, I want to hear it. Qinya said gravely. Yi Hua knew that it would be like this. Taking out a stick of cigarette, Yi Hua lit it up. I, the Supreme Overlord, was actually forced into a terrible situation by two women. If this were to be spread out, where would I put my face? You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.